Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass
with JayBee.
Hey!
Me, Millie, and of course, Rihanna.
Hey!
So I guess, despite the visual, we have no Smash today, which disappoints me because I feel like I needed someone to kind of even me out a bit instead of me sounding a bit dodgy. But also, as you can tell from the visual, we kind of have almost a half jokey but half serious age rating on it. And that's purely because we know stuff about the original intentions for this movie, which was rated for a bit of an older audience, and also because this episode is probably going to be a bit more mature in theme. So if you are listening and you're under the age of 15 or whatever, or you're a bit sensitive, I recommend maybe checking out one of our other reviews, and maybe if there's a high demand for it, I'll sit this episode out and Millie, Rihanna and Smash can do a regular review of this, but we don't know. But anyway, please enjoy this because this is going to be amazing. So
as JayBee's alluded to there, this is Scooby Doo the movie from 2002. So yeah, that's the movie we are going to be covering today. So I guess to do our overview of this movie, we tend to do one of those for all of these, and ultimately I feel like this is a movie that does actually take no real introduction, because for me at least, it was definitely the one I've seen the most. So in this movie, it does start off quite early on with Scooby-Doo and the gang going their separate ways, but they're brought back together at Spooky Island, where Mr. Emil Monivarius wants them to solve a mystery together. So they're all brought to this island where they kind of reconvene as Mystery Incorporated to solve the mystery, which of course we're going to go into in more detail.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the movie that I've wanted to review since starting with Spooky Island way back in the day, like Phil of the Future. I'm so excited to be here today. I literally said this before recording. This is the reason why my parents made love. It's so I could be here today to talk about this movie. And I apologize if this is someone's first episode watching us. This is us. If you want a kind of short to the point review, piss off somewhere else, because this isn't what we do here. Like, this is tangents, this is behind the scenes. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And thank you, biological parents, for getting in the mood that fateful night or morning or afternoon, because this is why I'm here. This is why I'm here.
Okay, well, to cut through some of what JayBee was saying there, I think like they say, the behind the scenes stuff, like after doing some 2002 interviews, which are currently going out on the channel every 14th of the month, ready to celebrate, you know, on, is it June 14th overall, JayBee, the main 20th anniversary of this movie being released. So after doing those interviews, and I think Rihanna will agree with me on this movie almost was to be viewed differently this time around.
Well, definitely. And it's unavoidable at this point, because almost like kind of Millie was talking about before recording, whenever we got to a scene that we knew had a deleted scene in, we were like pausing it going, oh, is that there? Is that there? It was almost like we were piecing together the Gosnell cut as we went along. So it was amazing. It was a really good experience.
It was. And we're going to be like, if you've not already seen the Kent Bader interview, we are going to be like piecing together some scenes, I guess, in this conversation.
Order,
but
we've done David Newman, the composer. We've done, oh gosh, who did we do? Kent Bader, the editor, which is a really cool kind of expose on the Gosnell cut. That was the one that was covered by Screen Rant. And then coming up, let's see, this is going to be released on the 9th. So
on the 14th, 5 days
in
away.
5 days, we'll interview Craig Titley, who penned a script for the live-action version. Back in the 90s, it was cancelled, so really cool stuff there. And there's one that I'm dying to talk about, but we're going to have to keep that secret until the 1st of May. So be excited for that, because we're literally killing it at the moment. We're the best. If you want to know about this movie, just subscribe to us, because we are experts on this movie.
JayBee especially, this is his specialist subject.
It is. I could actually, and you'll agree with me, okay? So we did a law degree, and it was a lot of writing, it was a lot of like BS, but I could literally write a whole thesis on this movie. I really could.
That's very true.
I could get a doctorate in this film.
You could.
I mean, the thing is, there's now I can't remember which university, but you can study Taylor Swift. So we need a Scooby Doo degree.
I mean, definitely growing up, I was studying a few scenes of this movie.
Okay, so let's start this review by talking about the cast, because I feel like some people it was a controversial cast, to others it was the start of something that was going to be really iconic.
So should we do it in the order that I've kind of got it listed here?
Definitely want to do it in the reverse order because I want to talk about that one last.
Okay.
So I'm going to say we start off with Freddie Prinze Jr.
What the hell? So, what's wrong with you? I've literally got it. Matthew Lillard, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Linda Cardellini, and you said let's do it in the reverse order. Let's start with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Okay, let's just not get excited about this, JayBee. Okay,
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Calm down for a minute. Let's talk about it in the order that I talked about it.
Okay, Freddie
when
Prinze
we were
Jr.
watching through this. Start off with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Me starting off.
Yeah, tell us what you think.
So look, I think apart from acting, because if your acting's good enough, you can be Shaggy. But I think concept-wise and portrayal, I think Fred's the hardest role to nail. Because in the cartoon and the animation, he's very, by the books, except for in Mystery Incorporated and onwards when they get a bit kooky. He is almost like a caricature of someone like Captain America. He kind of stands around looking strong, saying kind of buzzwords like let's make a plan, let's split up and look for clues, He's very plain but also very endearing and tactical in the show, and so to have that in a live action setting I think would be a bit ridiculous almost. So you've got a few ways to go about things. You either make him arrogant and almost a bit like play on the tropes of the cartoon, or you fully go the road of, Steve Rogers, Captain America, make him something that would never do anything wrong, would not even step on an ant, or just like that typicalness. And clearly for the vibe of this movie, they went the first way. And I think Freddie Prinze Jr. at the time at least was the perfect person to do that, after She Is All That, when he's kind of almost like, what do you call it, a jock in America? He's like a hunky guy. Yeah, like he could be like that. And I know the casting people wanted an actual couple, because initially they wanted Jennifer Love Hewitt to be Daphne, but then they wanted a Hollywood couple. So I think Freddie Prinze Jr. probably got this because they wanted Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne ultimately, but he did a good job, and I really like his role in that.
Okay, can I ask what you think of the look of Fred before we move to find out what Rihanna thinks?
I always dislike it when it's anything other than the ascot. Even though my main nostalgia show is What's New Scooby Doo, I really hate his outfit in that. And here they kind of give us that at the start, and then it's just its own thing, so it's fine. I'm glad that they tried something with his hair, but it just is what it is, and it's why I get a bit nervous talking about this movie, because I've grown up with it. I've watched it like literally over 1,000 times, that I simply can't comment on the looks because it's just what I know. I can't imagine it being any different.
Okay, great. And Rihanna, what did you think to Fred in this movie? The casting, the look?
Okay, so for me, obviously, Scooby Doo came out the year I was born. So I was like, it came out in June, didn't it? So that would be, I was 6 months old.
July in the UK, but June, America.
June or July. So I was like 6, 7 months. So I honestly have no idea. Like before watching it, and even when I first watched it, I didn't really know the cast from anything else, which I think kind of has helped me growing up with it, because, it's very much Freddie Prinze Jr. He is incredible. I know him as Fred, but I also know him as working with WWE. So I've seen like two different sides of him. And, for me, I think Fred is, as JayBee said, one of the most difficult characters to actually, I feel, cast for. I mean, we absolutely grilled Zac Efron for his voice. And that wasn't even him in person. And Bobby Armel, when he played Fred in The Mystery Begins and Curse of the Lake Monster, we saw in, I think it was the first one, where he puts on the blonde wig, or is it the second one? I think it's the first one. And he looked like Ken. He looked like a Ken doll. And I feel like with Fred, you know, he has to have the blonde hair because that's how we've always seen him, and he has to have the ascot. So costume wise, I was so happy with what they did, because they did try something with Freddie Prinze Jr.'s hair, and his acting, I feel now as I've like gotten older, I've seen other things that he's worked in. I feel like this was a really good piece of acting that he did as well, because he was very much, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but in some like roles that he's taken on in the past was a bit like one-dimensional and didn't have that range that other people might have had. But I've grown up with knowing him as my Fred, and then Frank Welker is my Fred's voice. So I think he did a really great job playing Fred. And I don't know if anyone else at that time could have taken on the role of Fred.
I agree. I think he was certainly a very good Fred, from getting the character down, the voice, and the look. They all credit to him for really committing to that, because there was a lot of there's a lot of interviews where they talk about how difficult dyeing their hair was.
And I think it wrecked their hair ultimately.
Yeah, and trying to colour their eyebrows as well to have, because don't they have black hair naturally at that stage?
Yeah.
So like all their facial hair, like they said in one interview, they were having to shave twice a day because their stubble was dark, it was prominent, and it grew back quickly. So they really had to commit look-wise to this role.
I guess at this point I should point out that listen to the whole review, because I do want to, because this is a very important movie this year, especially on the channel. I want to sprinkle a little bit of behind the scenes about us briefly in here, in that, because like due to all this like conversation about costume design and character design, I did reach out to the costume designer Lisa Evans, but I'm waiting to hear back. But fingers crossed. So again, I'm just going to sprinkle little bits like that in here. Some good, some bad, some neutral. So yeah, bit of behind the scenes there. Hopefully we can see there.
Indeed. And for the next bit, I'm going to promise JayBee I'm not going to speak for 60 seconds, because we're going to find out what he thinks to Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne.
Oh god.
Are we sure that's a good idea?
Okay, no, stop counting. She's counting on her fingers. Stop it. Because and this is inconsistent. Okay. Stop, please. Okay, so Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne is amazing, and I would argue the main character of the film, because they're the only one that has a concrete story arc. Now, you can argue that Fred at the start of the movie is kind of a bit of a jerk. He's taking away credit from Velma. He is making fun of Daphne for being the damsel in distress. And by the end of it, they do kind of go, okay, maybe Velma should take this one because, you know, she's the brain behind the operation. So maybe that does happen, although I'd argue that that's just scripting, right? There wasn't a singular event or thing that happened to Fred in the movie that made him want to make that decision. It just is at the start one thing, and it is at the end another thing. It's nothing wrong with it, but for Daphne, she physically has to go on a journey. You know, you see her as the damsel in distress, and I do wish that they'd kept in some of those scenes of her training in, because I think that would have completed the story a bit more. But you see her trying to prove herself throughout the film, trying to show that she's more than the damsel in distress, and then ultimately they get the coolest fight scene at the end against Zarkos, and oh, it's just so amazing, you know, when that music kicks in, and Daphne's like punching and kicking, and oh my god, like I said this when I was watching this, like for this review, that is my favourite movie fight scene of all time. And I'm not going to do any spoilers because Rihanna's not seen it, but I prefer this fight scene to any of the scenes in Endgame. Maybe the latest Spider-Man has topped it a little bit, but I think if they did another one of these movies, it would just overtake it again. And like everyone always says that these movies are iconic for like everyone's bisexual awakening, but this was my heterosexual awakening. Like without Daphne in these movies, I don't think I'd be into women, because oh my god, like me watching this at like 6 years old, and I was like, oh my god, okay, that's what that's for then. Yeah, like I was oh my gosh, the amount of times that I watched this movie and Daphne's so gorgeous, and oh my god, I can't do it. Like my heart is racing just thinking about her in this film.
Okay, and that was a very well done summary, JayBee. I'm really proud of you. So from Rihanna's perspective, because now we're getting it from like our side of things, okay? What would you say about Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne? The casting, the look, the characterization.
I really do like Sarah Michelle Gellar's portrayal of Daphne, and you know, again, it's very similar to with Freddie Prinze Jr. I hadn't seen her in anything else, and now I've grown up, I've seen her in things like Buffy and other things, and she's incredible. But she brought something that I don't think, and I don't, again, I don't mean this in a bad way, but even other voice actors who have voiced Daphne haven't really brought to the table. She brought something special. And I think it is that connection with Fred, because you could see, and even hear in the voice, how she felt about him. And it was really nice. And I loved the fact that they kept with like her purple theme of the clothing. And she had the little like pursey, I don't know what to call it, like a purse with the Scooby snacks in. It was all little things that Daphne would have had. One thing that I wasn't 100% sure on, she, like, her hair, even though it was like the gingery kind of thing, it was very pale in comparison to the brightness of like the other Daphne, like other Daphnes that we've seen. So that would be my only flaw, but she did a great job, and she still looks like Daphne to this day. Like, she is not aged.
Well,
But
it's weird with the hair because it's a wig, isn't it?
Yeah,
In this movie, but not in Monsters Unleashed.
Contract with Buffy at the time, she didn't have to dye her hair for this role. She got the wig, so in theory, they could have had any hair color they wanted.
Yeah, and so I feel like it should have been a bit more of that bright orange that we know. But I loved everything about the character. Like, how they wrote her was amazing. I will say, though, I do disagree with JayBee on her being like the main character that has the biggest like growth in the movie, because I feel like Fred did, because he went from being very, I'm the man, I'm the one who's in charge of this, push everyone else out, to being, no, I care about my friends. I want to be with Daphne. I want Velma to get the recognition that she deserves, and I want Shaggy and Scooby to eat like Scooby snacks. So I feel like he definitely did, along with, obviously Scooby himself had the biggest growth because he's Scooby Doo and Shaggy. But Velma as well, and we'll go on to that like when we talk about Linda Cardellini.
What did Velma do? She did nothing in this movie, right? Like, she's great, but Daphne finds the Daemon Riders. Daphne unleashes the balloon to kill all the demons at the end.
Velma pieces it all together, like when they're working out why they've got Scooby, she's quite predominant in the talking, the brain side of things, the working out the inscriptions on the Daemon Riders. Like,
Velma saves Fred's life, actually, to be fair. In that, the ride scene.
And I think Rihanna's right about some things that she said about this movie, and I think that it's really refreshing because Fred did, I probably agree as well, have the most growth in at the start. So. It's very much about them.
Well, I think he does get the most growth, but artificial growth. It's like saying, if I was like drooling over Daphne for this entire review, and then at the end I said, you know what, maybe Daphne isn't that hot. That's so different from where I started off as, but it's so sudden. It's just scripting. Like, you can write at the start of anything, this guy was an alcoholic, and then you can write on the last page, and suddenly he quit drinking. Like, it obviously is a more stark contrast, but it just doesn't feel like he's on that journey throughout the film. I think he is the most different by the end of it, but I don't really see anywhere that says, okay, so that's the moment that Fred decided he cared about his friends, or that's the moment that he decided to change, because he was either trying to be that man of substance, and this isn't his fault, but when he wasn't that character, he was possessed for quite a lot of it, and when he wasn't, you know, it's kind of, and this is like rich coming from me, but I think the one part about this movie that does go a bit too far is when Fred is in Daphne's body, like, oh, I can look at myself naked and stuff, because like a friend wouldn't violate another friend like that. Like if you think about it in a realistic setting, he is kind of violating a privacy without consent. And so from that angle, it's like, I don't see a moment where he decides he cares about his friend. It just is, because the writers say it is.
I guess it's just assumed that there's a change at the end of all of them when they can get back together at the end on a more like agreed basis. Like, I think if you consider, as you say, the start where they're talking about the book and themselves and, you know, being like that when they're in Daphne's body, to then see, this is going to be me like being all, I don't know, like romantic and just weird, but like the look him and Gellar have at the end, it is just the cutest thing. Like when they walk out of the building holding hands and looking at each other, it is just adorable.
It made my day.
So for me, for them to, like you say, you don't see any development, it just happens, but it's there. Like I say, they go from being about themselves, and as you raised the point there of them being weird in her body, to then there almost been this nice look between them when they're setting the trap up towards the end, and then they come out holding hands. Like, there is a development, there is a turn. And do you know what I actually really like? And I think I've got a few, let's say, controversial opinions in this. I like that the mystery machine wasn't there too much, because one thing I'm actually getting a bit tired of with Scooby Doo is that Fred loves the mystery machine. We get it. We know. Like, whenever they're like, there's love hearts coming out of their eyes, you're like, oh, you meant to think it's Daphne, but wait, it's the mystery machine. It was almost refreshing to go back to something where there was a good relationship with them two, and it wasn't just a gimmick of making it that Fred loves the mystery machine.
Well, I agree to an extent. I think Fred loving the mystery machine is iconic, especially in Mystery Incorporated, and I think it was some of my best parts about Zac Efron's performance. Like, at the start, when he is doing that love heart to the mystery machine,
That's not Zac Efron's
when he is
performance, that's the
avenging
cartoon.
the mystery machine, when he's like, for the mystery machine, I like all that stuff. But the one thing I'm just sick and tired of is in, say, stuff like Camp Scare, where some other woman's introduced and Fred's like, oh, look at that. And it's like, no, don't look at that. And so I'm glad that they didn't try any of that here, and that they just let it be what it was meant to be, in my opinion, and that's Fred and Daphne, because they belong together. And I want to see more of it. I'm glad that they're together in real life and that they've got kids, because we literally have Fred and Daphne kids out in the world, and that just means a lot.
So we're going to move on to the next member of cast, which is Linda Cardellini. And I will say quite confidently that they are by far my favourite Velma. I think they look the part absolutely perfectly. They voice the part better than anybody ever has. And they act the part so well as well. Just things from the way that they fidget with the glasses to the way they stand quite confident in themselves. Like when, I can't remember the name of the person, you know, the scene where the talk about the projector's been there and there.
Yeah, look, well, he's got a weird name. His name's like Nagu Tauna.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know, just in that scene where they're so comfortable and confident that there's their logical solution in everything. I don't know, for me, they come across better than any Velma ever has. And obviously we're going to come on to this more with Lillard, but I'm almost disappointed that they only came back to voice Hot Dog Water for a few episodes, because I'd personally say if they were to be the permanent voice of Velma, we'd have had a few very different episodes of Smash or Pass. So I'm going to ask Rihanna next what she thinks. To
Boris Johnson could take over from Kate McCucci and I'd be happy.
Oh my gosh, JayBee. Okay, so Linda Cardellini, she is incredible. I absolutely adore her as Velma, and, you know, as you said, it's safe to say she is our Velma. No one else can replace her. Yes, you know, all the others, like, who played her in live action and voice, they were amazing, you know, but she just had this aura around her the whole time, and I love that they kept with like her orange jumper. They kept with like she committed to like having her hair like Velma, and I I feel so happy talking about Velma because one of the things that I feel like Linda Cardellini portrayed really well is the fact she went from really serious and feeling left out, to, as the movie went on, she learned to have more fun and relax. And, it definitely showed. And with one of the things we found out, she sung on top of a piano and was taking off her clothes. So she definitely, relaxed a lot more. And,
It almost gets like a lad's holiday movie.
But she had the perfect voice. And when I was watching Mystery Incorporated at that time, I've always loved acting and actors and things like that and the voiceovers, but I always forgot that they were actual people. So I was like, wait, no, that's Velma as hot dog water, but we've also got Velma there. What's going on? And then that's when I was really like looking into things. I was like, okay, so we have like Mindy Cohn, and it is Mindy Cohn, yeah, and then we've got Linda Cardellini, but this makes no sense to me.
BJ Ward.
But she was amazing in the movie, and she portrayed her so. And also, when we spoke to Alicia, I don't want to butcher her last name.
Dariana.
She even said that she went back and studied Linda Cardellini's Velma because she's iconic. Linda Cardellini must have watched the cartoon so many times to get how she stands, she walks, the run, how she speaks. Everything was Velma. And, I would be so happy if they did like another 50 movies but got Linda Cardellini to voice her. And also, may I say, when she appeared in Age of Ultron and I had watched it, I screamed. I was like, she's just married Hawkeye. What the heck? This is like multiverse. And of course, now we've got Spider-Man into the multiverse and stuff like that happening. So, Scooby Doo and Disney, like Warner Brothers and Disney, literally had a baby.
Oh. I mean, honestly, I completely agree. Like, I've said on these episodes so many times, I don't like Velma. And this is the one occasion where I'm lying. If I were to say I didn't like Velma, it wouldn't be the truth, because Linda Cardellini is incredible. JayBee, what do you think?
I have a lot to say about Velma in this movie. Very, very good stuff, but also some negative things as well. So I agree. I think from what I've seen, again, this is no slight to Alicia from the live show. We haven't seen that yet. It could be that she takes over. We haven't seen that portrayal yet personally, although fingers crossed it does come to the UK. But Linda Cardellini, as of now, plays my absolute favourite Velma. And I think the good stuff is almost a negative in my book, but it's just a testament to Linda Cardellini's talent. Is that I think she did such a good job in this film that she literally not gave birth. What do you call it? She made the origin. I can't say this properly. What am I trying to say is, because of her performance, Velma fans, I would say, doubled, tripled, quadrupled, so that even to this day, people are like, oh, Velma's better than Daphne, or Velma's the best in the world, because I think of Linda Cardellini. I think if Linda Cardellini didn't do such a good job, I don't think there'd be too many Velma fans. Obviously, there'd be quite a few, but I don't think there'd be anywhere near to the level of this now. So Linda Cardellini almost does too much of a good job in a way, because she makes like Kate McCucci likeable. But I think the casting was a bit off here. And what I'm saying is, a lot of people are like, the funny thing about this movie is that Velma's hotter than Daphne. And I obviously don't agree with that, but at the same time, it is undeniable that this is a very hot Velma. And that's fine, that's alright, but they don't write it that way, if that makes sense. So there's a deleted scene where she's in therapy, like she's in like a group therapy, and everyone's going around like the room like, oh wow, you're part of Mystery Inc. with Fred, he's so cool, and Daphne, she is so hot. I don't remember there being a Thelma though. Okay. She's also the science geek. Fred's supposed to not be quote-unquote turned on by her, but he's like reassuring her that that's not the case. And so it's like they are treating her like nerdy Velma, when quite clearly she's more along the lines of what people attribute Velma to now, being the sexy Velma. And so I think if they were casting this movie more accurately to the story, they would have made her a bit nerdier, but I don't know. But she's good. And again, she's brainwashed a whole entire generation into thinking that Velma's hot, so she's done a good job.
Okay.
And Velma in the cartoon isn't hot, by the way. She has a haircut like your nan. She speaks
JayBee.
like a chipmunk. Just stop.
JayBee.
You don't think Velma's hot. You think Linda Cardellini's hot. Admit it.
Oh my god.
JayBee. This is a warning, okay?
It's true, though. Guys, you think... Just say Linda Cardellini is hot, and I'll agree. But Velma, come on, man. You're tripping.
Velma is incredible.
She's incredible in some cases, but she is
She's
not
beautiful.
hot. I have longer hair than Velma.
Oh my god. Right, we're going to move on to talk about Matthew Lillard, because this was their first appearance as Shaggy, and as we all know, they went on to voice them.
Velma's hair is so bad. Chris Rock would make a joke about it.
Velma. JayBee, I was about to call you Velma.
Why me? What have I ever done to warrant such abuse?
Well, you said you've got the same length hair, and it's...
Oh no, I actually need a haircut. Anyway, Matthew
No, so
Lillard.
Matthew Lillard is iconic because, like I say, this was their first appearance as Shaggy, and then they were so fitting that they went on to play them in so many of the cartoon series that were to follow as well.
Zoinks.
And honestly, I would go as far as to say, and this is the thing where I feel like I'm going to be saying some controversial things in this episode, but for me, they are the best voice of Shaggy, and as good and as amazing as Nick Pilates is. And I think really they could have voiced Shaggy if Lillard hadn't. But for me, Lillard was like made to be Shaggy. Just to look at them, it's who they are. Like with Prinze Jr., they had to mess with their hair. With Sarah Michelle Gellar, again, there had to be a wig. With Linda Cardellini, like, I don't know, but like...
Ooh, actually, here's the thing. I think in the behind the scenes, Linda Cardellini said that she auditioned for the role, dressed as Velma with the Velma haircut. So Linda Cardellini did put in some really good work for this role as well.
See, yeah, but I feel like they had to put work into it. Whereas with Matthew Lillard, I feel like you can just look at him and be like, yeah, that's Shaggy. Like, we've met him. We've stood right next to him. He looks like Shaggy. Granted, now he might look more like, you know, the Shaggy that's perhaps more like a dad age or something like that, but they still look like them. They have held that for 20 years, aging as you would expect Shaggy to. Like, to this day, they still look like them. And I feel like Rihanna said that, like, you know, growing up, this was the Scooby Doo cast she saw. For you as well, the Scooby Doo cast that you saw. And for me, the other three, I can kind of take or leave it. 'Cause honestly, I'll be honest, growing up, I did enjoy the other live action ones as well, like the straight to TV ones. But for me, this Shaggy just stuck with me. Like, that's what they look like. That's who they are. That's what they sound like.
Well, I think this is the beauty of this film, because I do agree. Oh, this I'm going to say because SMASH isn't here.
Oh, no.
But I prefer Mystery Begins and Curse of the Lake Monster to Monsters Unleashed. Yeah, like, I'm sorry, I just do. It's an unpopular opinion, but I think they're better movies than Monsters Unleashed. But what I will say is, if this movie wasn't so weird, because it is weird when you think about all the other Scooby-Doo movies, it would just be another nostalgic film. And I almost feel that because, say, Mystery Begins plays it so safe, if that was what came out in 2002, I don't think I would be motivated to, you know, revisit it as much, or I don't think I'd have been motivated to make a massive 20-year anniversary special. It's just that you couldn't forget this movie. Like, there's so many kids' films that come out and it's forgettable, but nothing about this movie is forgettable. Like, you might hate it, but you have to admit, style, music, acting, everything, you either love it or you hate it. I don't think anyone's going to watch this movie and go, okay.
It was an amazing movie. For me, it is completely unforgettable. And I also agree with what you're saying there, JayBee, in that, like, if it had been The Mystery Begins that came out in 2002, it wouldn't have been the same thing, because I enjoyed that movie, the casting, everything, and we're going to come on to in a couple of weeks' time. But it was an origin story, and as much as that's fine, we've started to see so many Scooby origin stories. Like, okay, so Shaggy met Scooby. Shaggy was lonely, Scooby was lonely, they became friends. You know, Velma, Daphne, Fred quite often build a stronger relationship within themselves. It's two parties that almost come together. Like, you know, we see this, it's a thing, like, it's become a common thing. We've seen it in Scoob, we've seen it. I am so happy that this isn't an origin story. And I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the thing with origin stories is quite often they take too much time to build up what we already know. We know they're friends. We don't need to spend the first half an hour of a movie waiting to see that Mystery Inc. happen, because at this point we know. And what's really good is when they made this movie, they were like, okay, everyone knows who Scooby Doo is. Everyone knows who Mystery Incorporated is. We aren't going to waste the time. We're going to make a story about them, not about how they started or came to be, because they already are. And that was, I think, a really good move on the writer's part.
Yeah, I mean, it'll become a meme at that point, because it's almost a bit like there's a joke about how many times have we seen Bruce Wayne's parents die. Like, we've seen it in all the movies pretty much, even to the point where they just skip over it now, or they have it in the opening credits as part of, like, literally, it announces who the director is, and you see Martha Wayne get shot, like, over that credit. It's like, okay. And I feel like that is with this, like, we don't really need to know the why necessarily. It's just, this is the gang, this is where they are, and let's just tell a story. We don't need to be bogged down by assembling them all together. It's just the group. And we love them.
So, JayBee, I feel like they were kind of skipped over your opinion of Lillard. Am I correct? Did you have anything else to add?
I love Lillard. Lillard's great. I think he's my favourite Shaggy of all time. I'd say in terms of my Shaggy ranking, Matthew Lillard, Casey Kasem, Nick Pilates, Billy West, Scott Innes, and Scott Menville. Although I think I'm biasing at Scott Menville, because I think they were the Shaggy in Scooby and Shaggy Get a Clue. And after being so in love with watching Scooby Doo as a kid, the second it switched over to Scooby and Shaggy Get a Clue, I was so like, no, I don't want this. This isn't what I want to see. So I was just a bit, you know, put off by that. But I don't know. I think I just enjoy it because you can tell that everything that Matthew Lillard says in his interviews is true. You can tell that he even studied how Shaggy walked in the original cartoon to nail that. You can tell he spent ages studying Casey Kasem's voice. And
not only that,
Casey Kasem is a legend. Like, if he was still... I don't know. I kind of think that he probably is the definitive Shaggy, to be honest. But I think the way Matthew Lillard respects Casey Kasem's portrayal, and on Twitter he's like, oh, I think Casey Kasem was a better Shaggy. Like, he's just so humble, such a nice person that he has just become Shaggy at this point. Maybe Casey Kasem is the best person to play Shaggy, but I think Matthew Lillard is Shaggy now.
See, one thing that I'll say about Lillard as an actor as well is when, you know, when that Solar exchange thing was happening and they were Velma momentarily, the way they stood, they were doing the posture that Velma does with the hands behind the back, the finger pointing, stuff like that. It's like, okay, you know what, you were brought in here because you can act. You act really well. Like, the relationship he builds up with Scooby when he had nothing next to him, he was literally talking to the air. That fight scene, like the way that it's staged and like placed out where they needed to stand to work around this figure that, again, there was nothing there to script them.
Well, I think he's the most different as well. He's the most versatile from what we see. Like obviously I love Gellar, I love Daphne, but they were hired as Buffy because, you know, I think the creator at the time, Joss Whedon, again, he's gone on to do whatever. Like, we don't need to discuss that, but he's a dodgy guy, I think. But he said that he wanted to subvert expectations. He wanted to take that trope of attractive woman walking down an alley is always the person to get targeted by the monster and killed at the start of the horror movie. So they wanted to say, well, what wouldn't it be like interesting if this one was the fighter, if they fought back and won? And that's ultimately what Daphne is in this. So very similar to Buffy, really. She is a great lady that fights monsters. And again, Freddie Prinze Jr. is playing that kind of arrogant dude like you'd see in She's All That. But if you think about Matthew Lillard's performances as well, like him in Scream, you don't recognise him from that movie to this, because it's so different.
What I'd say is Linda Cardellini was the most dedicated. They got Velma down to a T, almost through Bin Velma themselves, in that they studied it. Like, they took the brain power to go and work out how to do it, how to look like them, like you said, JayBee, for the initial kind of interview, the initial kind of readings, things like that. Whereas Matthew Lillard, I'd say Cardellini was definitely the most dedicated, but Lillard was the best actor out of all four, because he had the hardest job of interacting with Scooby, building up a relationship with something that wasn't even there. Like, the way that they portrayed Bin Velma when there was the soul exchange, I personally would say they had to demonstrate the most amount of skill when it came to acting.
Yeah, well, I don't want to take away from Lillard's work, because, again, there's places where he said that he used to scream himself in the car every day before, like, his interviews and his practices to try and get the Shaggy voice. But I just think this cast in general, and maybe it's, I don't know if it's like a work ethic thing or something like that, but you would, and maybe this is because they didn't think that they were signing up for like a family movie or a kids movie, but you would very rarely would you see actors put in this much work for a quote-unquote kids movie nowadays. I think it's just seen as a paycheck, or, you know, going through the motions. It's on a popular IP, so it's going to give them residual, it's going to give them money, but they actually worked hard for this.
But this is what I'd agree with you on that, is like you say, this initially wasn't meant to be a quote-unquote kids movie. These actors were all pretty much mostly known in the horror sector. Would you agree with that, JayBee? And that Lillard was Scream, that was their biggest thing before Scooby, potentially. For all Sarah Michelle Gellar had Buffy, they also had a couple of horrors as well.
I Know What You Did Last Summer, which also had Prinze in. What else was she with? That one that you got me, that we never got to see because the disc was done.
Not The Purge, Grudge.
The Grudge.
The Grudge.
And I don't know what Freddie Prinze Jr. has done horror-wise, apart from I Know What You Did Last Summer. And he was in the sequel as well.
I feel like, typically speaking, they hadn't done anything that was aimed at a younger audience to be recognised by them. They, generally speaking, had been pitched at an older audience.
That's true.
So it was an interesting casting right from the start, really, but one that, like we say, has gone so well. So, Rihanna, what's your opinion of Matthew Lillard?
He is Shaggy. You know, Casey Kasem did such a great job doing the voice of Shaggy, but when it transitioned into Matthew Lillard, I didn't really notice the difference that much. You know, with like when Kate McCucci took over from Mindy Cohn, we all knew that difference.
Yeah.
Like, we all knew it.
We felt that.
I just got a pile of crap hurled at my face.
But, okay, fun little side story about the casting of Shaggy.
Yes.
Everyone knows I'm a big Supernatural fan as well. Well, Jared Padalecki was approached by Warner Brothers, and they were saying, we want you to be our Shaggy. They were adamant, and he actually turned around and said, no, I love Scooby Doo. I would love to, but I'd much rather, it's a huge role. He wasn't ready to take on that pressure. And looking at it, if it was between Jared and Matthew Lillard, I still would have gone for Matthew Lillard, but I do want to see Jared Padalecki's impression of Shaggy. But honestly, the commitment in acting, you need to know everything about your character, from favorite color to your, what you ate last night. You need to know every little detail, and it's clear that Matthew Lillard did that research. He made sure he had everything down to a T. And one of the hardest things is acting with no one opposite you, because from like what I've done when I'm like practicing, I'm acting, I'm saying my lines, but not having someone there to react to what you're saying, you're just having to make it up in your mind. And also, when you're doing a self-tape, people will just read it. They won't act alongside you. So you have to make that up in your mind as well. So for me, that's really hard. And Matthew Lillard makes it seem easy. And he got the voice down. He got everything from, how he looked to how he stood, walked, run, everything. So I'm really glad that he did take over from Casey Kasem, and I wish he was in Scoob, but unfortunately he wasn't. So, he just did such a great job, and the small mannerisms that Shaggy also has in the cartoon, he picked up on. So between him and Linda Cardellini, those two were the hardest working, I think, because they got it because of their own hard work, not because really what they had done before. And I think I saw somewhere Matthew Lillard actually said that they weren't too keen on him originally, and that's what made him want to learn to do the voice and everything.
Wow. Could you imagine there's like an alternate reality where they like cast someone else instead of Matthew Lillard? That would be like the darkest timeline.
Yeah, that wouldn't be... I couldn't imagine that.
But I guess speaking about getting roles through hard work, I think a perfect example about that is actually Neil Fanning,
Oh, this is the one that I'm most excited to speak about, because I would say controversially that I don't like it when Scooby speaks. Like, I feel like this is again another unpopular opinion. I feel like I want to make myself hated today. But Frank Welker, and I feel like I know already that it's a no-no to speak against Frank Welker, but in Scoob, I couldn't stand it when Scooby was speaking. I was actually like getting irritated at the start that Scooby was speaking so much. I didn't like the voice. Whereas when Neil Fanning was speaking as Scooby watching this movie, I loved it. I couldn't have imagined Scooby sounding another way. Like, everything about this Scooby, I love.
I think he was the right Scooby for this movie. Maybe, like, and I agree. I think Neil Fanning taking over as Scooby full time, I don't see it being as good as Frank Welker at all. But Scooby, like, if they replaced, see, this would be a bit dicey, because if they made Neil Fanning Scooby, then that would either mean that Frank Welker had to be Fred or out of it at all. And obviously we don't want Frank Welker to be out of it, because he does deserve the respect after all this time, and he is a great person. Again, for the more talking Scooby, I think Neil Fanning is the best. And
see, I think
it's sad though, because all throughout the production, I think it was Scott Innes that was the voice of Scooby in this movie. And I think they do an okay job in Cyber Chase, like when it's just Dogware. Yeah, that's really cool, and I think that's gone on to be a bit more iconic, like in terms of those 4 movies. But I think if it was Scott Innes in this movie, it would have not been great.
I'd have said the same if it was Frank Welker in this movie. I don't think it'd have been great. The thing with Scoob, and we went over this last week, but it's kind of relevant again now, is I think they were just trying to involve Frank Welker, so they were giving Scooby too many lines. Whereas with this, I feel like it was the perfect balance. They gave them just the right amount of lines, and Neil Fanning was 100%.
He worked
the right person
in a way. He
it.
was literally just meant to be some Australian guy that loves Scooby, to bounce off Matthew Lillard. Like, I think this is what someone that we interviewed, I forget if it's one that we can talk about or not, said that, who was it? No, it was recently, right? No, actually, I think it was C. Ernst Harf that said that he was literally just shouting lines at Matthew Lillard when Matthew Lillard was acting to nothing apart from maybe like some guy in a suit or a toy or whatever. But and that's it. They liked his voice so much, they kept him on. And I just think that that's perfect. And I just want to thank the person that made that decision. I don't know if it was Raja Gosnell, but I think it saved the movie in many ways, because I think a more cartoony, dare I use the word wholesome Scooby wouldn't have worked in this. It would have stuck out like a sore thumb, but they made the right choice. And I'm really happy. And Neil Fanning is amazing.
Rihanna, can we ask what your opinion is of Neil Fanning voicing Scooby?
Okay, so I love Scooby Doo, and I genuinely, like, this is where Millie and I may clash a little bit. I think it's the first time we haven't really agreed on things other than the Velma thing. I love when Scooby talks. Just something about it makes me happy and smile, and I want to go and kidnap Scooby and keep him for myself. But, you know, that can never happen, which makes me sad. But Neil Fanning did such a great job as Scooby's voice. It wasn't irritating. He managed to hold it as well, which in voice acting, it's so difficult to keep a voice for a long period of time if it's so far off like your normal voice. And Scooby does not have a normal voice. So I think he did a really good job, and it's really fun to listen to his take on Scooby. For me, Frank Welker will always be my Scooby, because, you know, for me, that's just my opinion. But Neil Fanning is a close second, and I will happily rewatch Scooby, even if say if I hated in another alternate universe, in which case, please, can someone just get rid of that version of me? I hated this movie. I would rewatch it purely for Scooby's voice.
See, that's so interesting, because I think I'm going to come up with a controversial opinion now. I think my favourite Scooby of all time is actually Don Messick. I think all Scoobies are good, though. I think Neil Fanning is the best talking Scooby. Frank Welker is the best dog Scooby. Scott Innes is fine at both, but I think Don Messick was great at both. And that's just what I take away from it. If they can have like a massive Scooby reunion, I think that would be a very powerful canine.
Okay. So that kind of does it for the cast. We can now start to get into the plot. This is mad. Like, we've been recording nearly an hour, and that was just to talk about the cast.
Yeah, but look, this is like I'll come out on record, right? People enjoyed our Scoob review a lot, but to me, the intro was so boring because we were talking about cast members, and I didn't give a crap. Like, it was, oh yeah. But this, I think, I am absolutely tantalised just talking about this cast in detail. And honestly, even though we've not really started the plot yet, so far this is one of my favourite recordings ever, because I could honestly talk about this cast until I die. So, it's just a great film. So, let's go on. Millie, perhaps you can move us along, or I'm just going to start, shaking in my boots.
So, we start outside the Wow Toy Factory, and the music at this stage is just like...
We don't even start there. I would say we started... in the Warner Brothers theme, when the Warner Brothers logo gets bitten and you hear the Scooby laugh. Even to this day, when I see that intro, a part of me is expecting that bite and that laugh, even when it isn't this movie. Like, that's how many times I watched this as a kid. I remember having it on tape, then on DVD, then for the PSP, or then digital download. This is going to be the last movie I watch before I die. I promise everyone listening that in 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, this will be the last movie I ever watch before going grey and dying. And I'm just so in love with this movie. It's going to be the first movie that I show our kids, the first movie I show our grandkids. They're going to bury me with this sodding movie, I promise you. Anyone listening to this, they are going to bury me to this freaking movie. literally, at my funeral, Land of a Million Drums is going to play as my coffin gets carried away by my exhausted relatives. This is my favourite movie of all time, and I'm going to defend it to the end of the earth. I love it so much. Please. Look at me.
You good?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. What the heck? I'm just passionate about this movie. But I'm not a fake person. I'm doing the 20th anniversary celebration because I love the movie. I'm not just going, oh, look at me, I want clout, I want to speak to people. No, this is amazing. I love it. I love it so much.
Okay. So, as we say, after the Warner Brothers Buy intro, we kind of get some Mist and End Up Outside the World, Toy Factory, and as I was saying, the music in the background for this, for me, is iconic. It sets me up ready to watch the entire movie. I'm literally like, I feel like it almost demands my full attention to watch this movie.
I mean, this demanded my full attention.
Like, I believe this intro would have been David Newman, right?
Yeah, well, it depends. There was a concept for this intro that was that animated one, which I wish they kept in, but I can kind of see how it was cut out. But it would have been David Newman, that part where it kind of almost starts with dun, 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 and then when it goes to the Toy Factory, it goes dun, 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 dun. All of that.
I do think we spoke to them about it because this, we were kind of talking about how important the start of, you know, a music is, the start of the music in the theatre, in the movie, because it almost commands attention right from the start. You're engaged right from the beginning. And I feel like this music does just get me engaged. I can't think about anything else or even really be doing anything else when I'm watching this movie.
No, it's just, they're never going to make a movie like this again. And whether you think that that's for the best or the worst, it is just a fact. We could live to 1,000 years old and they're never going to do anything like this again.
JayBee, I think you're kind of spoiling what your verdict might be at the end of this.
What do you mean? So what? You think I'm going to reach out to all these people, make it my mission to collect all the live action things, and I'm going to pass it?
What? Yeah. You have to leave the episode now. You've ruined it.
No, people
you meant
know.
to save this till the end.
People know, and that's why I'm actually disappointed that Smash isn't here. Okay, because out of anyone, he is the one person I know that would ever, well, not the one person I know, but the one person I speak to that could ever pass this movie. And I thought he was going to be here. He's in the visual. Oh, we need to... I'm talking about this movie again with Smash, okay? So if Smash is listening to this, if he's at work, sometimes he listens to the episodes that he misses at work. If you're at work right now, I hope they dock your pay for the day, because I am going to kidnap you one day for 5 hours and we are going to talk about this movie together, even if I need to get your friends to tie you up, put you by your desktop and open up Discord. You, my friend, are going to be in a conversation with me about this movie, and I'm going to convince you that you're wrong about it, because this is a masterpiece, and I'm going to speak to you about it. I'm going to convert you into the way of 2002 movie.
I feel like we need to save this for a time when you and Smash no longer want to be friends, and then you can have a debate about 2002 and 2004.
He's doing it.
I mean, it would probably be the last conversation the two of you have.
Well, I love speaking to him. But I've never had the opportunity to disagree with him. But I feel like it would be the best conversation. Why are you not here? Where are you right now? I feel like you've died, because I just want to be with you, and you're not here. I don't know where you are. I miss you. You're like, no. You're my best male friend. You are like a brother to me. No, Smash, like, you're like a brother to me. You're like a sibling to me, and I love speaking to you. So Discord me, and we're gonna speak about this movie. It's gonna be recorded, and you're gonna love it, and you're actually gonna watch it again. You're gonna watch it with me. I'm gonna fly to America, and we're gonna watch this movie together.
Are you okay now?
What?
Are you okay?
If you get to do that, can me and Millie have a spin-off episode?
No.
Why not?
Well...
Oh, we could have a really interesting spin-off about the Daphne and Velma books. They're good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You know what? I would listen to that. If you and... You and Rihanna could talk about Daphne and Velma. Maybe even bring Morgan Baden into it.
Because let's be honest, I'm 100% Team Daphne. And Rihanna's definitely more on the Velma side of things. So.
Well, that's the first time you've been right about anything, Millie.
You know what? We could do Smash or Pass book club.
We could. Oh, we have said we do want to cover the Daphne and Velma books, so
let's do it.
That is going to be interesting. Okay, so getting back to the plot. So as we enter the toy factory, the Luna Ghost is breaking through the glass. They've kidnapped Daphne, so they're kind of like flying in with them. And instantly, so one thing that even from being in this toy factory right at the start, I feel like this movie is beyond its year.
You can get, like, you know, the things that, you know, when the Luna Ghost bursts into the room and like loads of things fall on the ground. You can buy them on eBay. People have collected them. And I was watching one on eBay a couple of months ago, and it went for like $180. It's crazy. I really want to get one day. When I make it, when I'm a champion of the world, I'm going to have 50 of them, and I'm going to drink out of them every day like they're nothing. I'm going to have my morning coffee out of them. They're just so good. I really want to get one. In fact, if anyone wants to help me, I'll be your best friend.
So yeah, going back to what we said, I feel like this movie is kind of beyond its years in that I just feel like them crashing through the window was so seamless. Linda Cardellini falling from that walkway where they are, to how Scooby is animated when they're in the barrel and the Luna Ghost is behind Shaggy and is pulling all the weird faces and stuff like that. Instantly, I just feel like this is such a great start to the movie, and I feel like if we were sat in a cinema in 2002 to see this, we'd be like, okay, this is quite advanced.
That would not work out for me.
But okay, it wouldn't work out for you, but do you agree that it is quite advanced? Do you think this scene in the toy factory was done well?
I think it went well, but like this scene literally gave me my first boner, like of all time. I remember it, and I remember being confused. So I can't think about this critically because I just think back to the time, like, this is my origin story. This is when I knew that it wasn't just for wee wee.
Right, well, if you can't think about this critically, I'll ask Rihanna to think about it critically. How did you feel about this first scene in the toy factory? Like we were saying, kind of the effects, CGI, just how the clarity of everything. I was impressed.
I'm seduced.
Oh my gosh, JayBee. My mum's going to listen to this, and she's going to wonder if it was a good decision on letting me do this. My first impressions were, I still get chills as soon as like it comes on the TV. I'm like,
what comes on the TV? No, okay, right.
JayBee.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Rihanna's speaking.
Yeah.
You're gonna be muted, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, Rihanna, if you can say that again.
As soon as I see it, like, as soon as it like comes onto the screen, I get chills.
JayBee, stop. Nah, right. I'm gonna mute our microphone so you can speak without JayBee interrupting.
Okay, should I just take it back or should I just continue?
No, like, I don't even know, JayBee. What are you doing at this point?
Let's not mute it. Let's just be friends.
Right, you're going to be quiet, JayBee, and you're going to let Rihanna say it again, and this time you're not going to interrupt.
Well, we are like Mystery Inc. We're just best friends at the end of the day, so let's get on with it.
We're about to go on a 2-year breakup, like Ross and Rachel.
No, we won't. We're going to be good. We're going to be like Reed Richards and Sue Storm.
Okay. So, as soon as like the first bit comes onto the TV, I get absolute chills, and it's always been like this. So for me, I feel like the way everything was done, even the costumes, because you look at things nowadays, it's mainly CGI. Back then they didn't really have, although I will admit the animation of Scooby is my favorite live action compared to Mystery Begins and Curse Lake Monster. Because he looks, I mean, he's obviously not a real dog, which I wish he was, but he kind of looks more realistic than the whole. You could tell it was animated in Mystery Begins at like a quick glance, but the costumes are really detailed, like of the lunar ghost. My only issue, which comes in a bit later in the movie, so they went on. What's his name? I wrote it down. Hang on. Sorry about this.
Is it Old Man Smithers?
No. It's where did I write it down? Oh, Mondavarius. So he disappeared 2 years ago, meaning that the gang must have kicked Scrappy Doo out shortly after the Lunar Ghost situation. So, or like shortly before. So there wasn't like any slight mention of him where like they could have like hinted, like foretelling what happened in the future. But other than that, like it was really well done, and the whole thing. I was a bit confused when like Pamela Anderson like walks in and is like, "Hey, thank you for saving like all my dolls and things like that." But you know, there's Scooby Doo. Everyone loves Scooby, but I love it, and it was so well done.
I think JayBee kind of dealt with the Pamela Anderson comment well in the last episode when they kind of said it was the equivalent of Simon Cowell. It was just kind of like, okay, let's have a celebrity.
It's because I'm such a biased person to this film. It's like I can look at Scoob and go, oh, it's so stupid how they've got Simon Cowell. He's not relevant to the story. They've just put him in there to get a big name at the time. But then I'm like, oh, well, my favourite movie, Pamela Anderson just shows up. So yeah, you can make the exact same criticism as Pamela Anderson in this as Simon Cowell, although I suppose they don't constantly mention, like, Pamela Anderson isn't the reason why they broke up, you know, they're not constantly going, oh, maybe Pamela Anderson was right, maybe we should have split up, you know, so I guess she's less imposing on this movie than Simon Cowell is in Scoob, but you can make similar comparisons.
Okay, so then, you know, Fred kind of gives a speech about how it was him, his plan.
Yeah, teamwork. I do an incredible amount of teamwork.
And at that, and something else that's interesting at that stage, and I feel like this needs to be mentioned, is the Mystery Machine, because obviously Pamela Anderson, after the toy factory had been saved, they practically crashed through the wall in the Mystery Machine. I find it kind of ludicrous that they're like, oh, thank you for saving it, after they pretty much just damaged it to like speed in there.
Why did she have the keys to the Mystery Machine? Was that part of Fred's plan or
I almost feel like
plan?
You know, you were saying you don't like that thing where like Fred has a different woman that's not Daphne.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like from her having the Mystery Machine keys to like kind of the hug they have at the start, that it's almost insinuated that in that mystery beforehand, she would have been that character that Fred almost leaned on more.
Yeah.
Maybe. And it's so weird though, because I feel that maybe Pamela Anderson was a bit washed, ratioed, fallen off at the start of this in the same way that Simon Cowell's not a huge name to like more contemporary audiences. Because when I first watched this, I didn't know that it was like a famous person. I just thought, oh, here's some woman that's coming in, she's a character, and maybe she just has a crush on Fred. Like, I definitely got that vibe, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird. I didn't think too much of it, but again, it almost serves to add to this. Oh my gosh, how weird is that? I'm gonna remember this. You know.
Yeah. Something else, so like I say, something else we need to speak about is the design of the Mystery Machine, because this is the first time we see the Mystery Machine, and honestly, I think it looks amazing. Like, we've watched all the behind the scenes stuff where they talk about the Mystery Machine and how they ultimately came up with that design. But that, for me, is 100% the right design for the live action movies.
It's my favourite Mystery Machine, hands down. I can't think of another Mystery Machine that I prefer. And actually, with this live action one, I think I might have 3 or 4 versions of it in toy form, maybe more.
Yeah, I'm looking behind us, and we've certainly got quite a few. I mean, Rihanna, what do you think to this Mystery Machine?
It's so good. I think if anyone, you know, I've seen people who have done up vans. I was going to, like, I mean, I plead the fifth, though. Okay, so everything I can say will not be used against me. I was going to, like, rob a bank to buy this one guy's like mystery machine from him, because he'd done it up so well that even the inside looked exactly like the 2002 and like 2004 movies. Like it looked so similar. But this one just gave me more Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated vibes than any other one that we've seen, whether it be in, you know, Scooby Doo Curse of Lake Monster, or, you know, even in a lot of the cartoons. I look at the Mystery Machine and how it changes. I'm like, that's not my Mystery Machine. And it reminds me so much of, like, you know, the Mystery Machine that they drive in, for example, as Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase. It seems very similar to that in style, which I like. And I just, it's the Mystery Machine. Who doesn't love it? It's like Baby to Dean. It's an amazing combo. You can't have one without the other.
It's up there with the most iconic vehicles in cinema history. Like, obviously, I think you've mentioned the Supernatural one, but thinking about the most iconic cars as well, you've got the Ecto-1, the DeLorean, and I think the Mystery Machine goes right alongside them all. Yeah. And the Batmobile, of course. But the Mystery Machine is up there with the great vehicles of all time. And, you know, I
don't care what age you are. If you see somebody who's recreated their car as the Mystery Machine and it's parked at the side of the road, you're going to get excited. Like, regardless of what age you are. If my mum drives past it and my mum's nearly 70, she's going to get excited. There's one about...
Wait, I think your mum's 70?
70, like, next year.
Wait, so she's as old as the show, pretty much?
Yeah, if not older. But there's one about 18 miles away from where we live, well, where my family lived. And if ever she sees it, like, it's driven into the town, she gets excited to see it. Similarly, you know, JayBee and I around the 24 mark, we see one, we're going to get excited. If my little niece, who's, oh gosh, I don't even know how old she is anymore. I think she's 6. If she were to see it, she'd be excited, even if she didn't fully, because I guess she's kind of grown up not watching Scooby. She's more like on her iPad all the time watching stuff, but she'd still recognise it.
Yeah, Generation YouTube. Which nothing wrong with that. Like, they're paying the bills, aren't they? At the end of the day.
There's someone who used to live near me who recreated and made the Ghostbusters car.
Were they a pervert?
Oh, God.
No, they were really nice, and they used to go to conventions. I think.
Ooh, nice.
I want to say that the guy died, and his daughter then sold it.
Oh, see, that's heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh, we literally drove past a recreated Ecto-1
just the other day. Weekend. Literally just, what, was it last weekend?
Yeah, because it was in the centre of town, so if I'd have been at work.
Gosh, see, this week's flow. But, oh my god, okay, if my kids are listening to this, if you sell any of my stuff after I die, I'm going to haunt you.
Oh gosh.
You're going to be written out of the will, buddy boy.
It's a bit late then, JayBee.
No, because I'm going to live forever. But if they ever sell my things, I'll be sad. Like, that Daphne poster that I've got, come on. I'm not selling that. But, I don't know. Like, I'm a very anti-drug person, but one day I will smoke weed in the back of a Mystery Machine. I just need to. Don't do drugs, kids, but I just can't not, you know. I can't not.
Oh my god.
Oh,
you can easily avoid it, JayBee.
Oh, I want to do it and say talk about toasters before I go.
Peer pressure, JayBee. Peer pressure is not good for you.
That's true. Don't do drugs, kids. And actually, interestingly enough, I'm going to say something a bit controversial to myself here. I'm almost glad that this movie is the movie we have versus the Gosnell cut, because for all I want to see the Gosnell cut today, I would do anything to see all the drug references, to see the kissing scene and stuff. Back as a kid, I don't think, and I would have been allowed to watch it, you know what I mean, because my parents would have just seen, hey, Scooby Doo, we'll give this to him.
And then just throw you in a different room so they don't even see what's on the screen.
Yeah, so I would have been able to watch the Gosnell cut if it came out, but I don't think I would have remembered it as fondly to this day. And almost one of the best and most fascinating parts about the movie is trying to uncover that Gosnell cut. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're looking for a buried relic, you're more curious than, oh, it's just at the British Museum. We'll see that next year or next time we go.
Yeah, I feel like there's always some intrigue in trying to find something out, but when you know it, it sometimes doesn't live up to the hype. Like, I'm gonna say, speaking to Cat Vader, lived up to the hype. Oh my gosh. I feel like we must have spoken for like 2 hours after that interview because we were all just that excited.
But I agree. I was watching this, stroking my ego, because I was so curious about that Coast Guard scene ever since I was a kid. And I was like, well, I did not know that I was destined to one day be a part of the team that uncovered that mystery 20 years later. Like, after being so curious about it as a kid, I had no clue that one day I would be a part of solving it. And it obviously does a bit for my ego, but beyond that, I just feel so grateful to be doing this. Even though the community doesn't really embrace me, they don't really want to know me. Me as a person, like, I am so proud of what we've done, or like as a collective, and I just think that when I'm an old man, I'm going to look back and remember the cool stuff that they've done, and I'm very happy.
But like we were saying, I feel like for all speaking to them was amazing, and it 100% lived up to the hype. If it were to be that we'd got handed a copy of that original cut, I still think we'd go back to this one. Maybe not straight away, but I think ultimately, a year from now, and you're like, do you want to watch Scooby Doo live action? We'd be watching this Scooby Doo live action. Yeah,
it's maybe something to watch and to have, like, and preserve, because it would be on DVD, I assume, so you would protect the disc so it doesn't get damaged. Whereas with this, yeah, I'd say maybe if it was digital download, I'd watch that more often for the wrong purposes. But as it is, I'm agreeing.
See, I agree with Billy that we would watch like the Gosnell cut, but for me, even like after seeing that, I would watch it once and then I'd immediately go back to this version that we have, because I think this one is so special. And yes, it would be cool to like see everything in its entirety, like what would have been, but sometimes what would have been isn't what should have been. And I think because we uncovered like that mystery, we need to get onto another mystery, by the way, because we're putting our own little mystery ink. But I think we're a bit more hyped up about it because we were the ones who like found out first with all like the breaking news.
And forever as well, like, if people are curious about that scene in 5 years, 10 years, they're gonna like listen to the interviews,
because that's the first place where you can hear it,
and they're gonna see us. Like, we are now cemented, and this is gonna sound so egotistical, but we are part of Scooby history now. No matter what, we've done that. We've pioneered something, and I think that's pretty cool.
It really is. Okay, so I'm gonna progress with the plot a little bit here. So, as we say, Fred gets his moment where he's like, oh, there's a lot of teamwork. Like we say, Fred's kind of very central at this point as the leader of Mystery Incorporated. Then they head outside, and this is where we get, I think, JayBee said that Scoob compares, but for you, this is kind of one of your most emotional Scooby scenes.
Yeah, the breakup part is really good. And I think one thing that makes it is the score by David Newman, like kind of going underneath it, which it kind of breaks my heart a bit that he doesn't remember too much about his time working on Scooby. But that his music underneath this scene is incredible, and it gets me every time. And I'm just, I don't know, like.
For me, it's the tear that you can see in Scooby's eye. It's the most prominently I've noticed it today. But, like, when everyone's walking away and they're like, do I quit? There's just this tear in the corner. It's like, oh gosh.
Well, that's one of my issues with this movie. Because I was almost saying, that scene on the beach, and we're kind of skipping past this, but trust me, we'll get back on track because I can talk about this movie forever. When Shaggy's like, I'm going to save my best pal, I'm going to have a Scooby snack. That makes me less emotional than the scene in Scoob did. And I think the reason is because it's meant to show how friends don't quit, so Shaggy's going to go after Scooby. but they were the only two that stayed together in this scene. I think it would have made a lot more sense to have two of the people that split up having that friends don't quit moment, because that's like, we were wrong to split up then, so we're going to come together as a team now. Whereas Shaggy and Scooby are best friends, they're the two that would have that emotion with. But for this, they already had a breakup. There was no need to make Shaggy and Scooby fight in this movie, because we already had a conflict pre-established. So that's where I think it kind of makes it a bit redundant, because then why break the gang up if the point was Shaggy and Scooby are best friends? We may as well have just had the gang travel to Spooky Island for another mystery, and then Shaggy and Scooby have a fight, like kind of same thing.
See, there's a couple of things I actually really like at this point, which is a bit different. So, firstly, this is when I first hear Scooby's voice and be like, okay, yes, 1,000,000%.
Wait, is this the...
Yes. No, it's still at the do I quit bit.
Oh, do I quit?
Hearing the voice there, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is Scooby 1,000,000%. But also, we normally see Shaggy and Scooby on quite a level. But for me here, Shaggy's almost like Scooby's dad. Like, do I quit? Like, they're coming to them for reassurance of what to do. And it's the first time when I almost don't see them on a level. I almost see Shaggy as that little bit more of like a protective figure.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely best friends, and I think it's good that you say that and not, oh, you can see that it's his owner or something, because you kind of get the impression that if he wanted to quit, he probably could find something else to do. But the fact that they do stay together is just great. It's just so sad, like, just like when Scooby's peering out the back of the mystery machine, it's like, why? Why did you have to do this? I could cry.
It's a very sad scene.
Like, at the start, I could cry.
Rihanna, how do you feel about this scene?
It makes me cry every time because, you know, the do I quit, and Scooby is lost. And this is, I'm going to disagree with you, JayBee, about the whole fighting in like the thing, because what it's showing is two loyal friends. They, you know, everyone else leaves them. Then something happens to the one friend, and it's like, okay, you know what? We need to put all our differences just aside to join, because we can't see Shaggy without Scooby. You know, so that's like my whole thing.
No, I like that a lot, actually. No, that's really good. I like that. Oh my god. Let's be friends.
Wow, 20 years and you've finally got a new take on this movie.
Well, no, because it's already my favourite movie, and now just making it more perfect. That's actually really good, you know. Oh,
See,
yeah, because it's like the gang were happy at least knowing that Shaggy still had Scooby, and oh my god, that's made me emotional. This is just the best movie. Anyone
JayBee's
that
actually
disagrees
going to
with
watch
me,
this movie again in a different way.
I'm going to watch it 8 times tonight.
I had a moment with Tatty last night, and you know, Tatty is basically my Scooby, and my old boy Diesel, he loved this movie just as much as I did. And now when I watch this movie, I mean, we'll get into it later, but there's a moment which Tatty whines every single time.
Oh.
But there's so last night I was cuddled up with her on my bed, and she was like in a deep sleep. So I was like, I don't want to wake her up, so I'm gonna go off and do something quickly. I come back and she's awake still. She's like moved position, but she's whining and shaking. And I'm like, Tatty, are you okay? And as soon as she sees me, she just like jumped on me and started licking my face. And for me, that gives me Shaggy Scooby vibes in this, because it's like, do I quit? Like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. And without, you know, Tatty felt, I think, lost and scared. I think she felt like I left her. And it just gives me Shaggy Scooby vibes that happened last night. And I cried about it. And I still cry at that scene, because dogs are so loyal. If you treat them right, they'll be loyal. And for me, you can't get any more loyal than Scooby. And he was torn, because he's like, okay, Velma's the one who always explains things to me. She's the one who trains me as such. Daphne is the one who always makes sure that I look good, I'm clean, I've had a bath, and, you know, pampers me. Fred's the leader, the authoritarian figure, so like the alpha of the pack. And then Shaggy is his best friend, the one who comforts him. So seeing all those different people leave him, he was like, what do I do? Who do I follow? Do I go with Fred? But I don't want to leave Shaggy because that'll upset him. But at the same time, I want to do this, that, and the other. So he was feeling torn. And I've only really understood that now that like I have lost Diesel, because it's like I feel really lost without him still to this day. And I have Tatty, who she's amazing, but this movie holds a special place in my heart with Diesel as well. So it's like Scooby felt so lost, and it just makes me really emotional because he was so sad.
You and Tatty are just so sweet. It is so sweet to hear about Tatty. Oh, I love them so much.
Shut up, Millie. You cannot pretend to understand the bonds between dog and human.
No, I
because you
can't.
hate dogs.
No, I don't. I was never allowed a dog.
And I don't understand why they're the most lovable creatures on the planet. Like, you could be the most evil person in the world and the cruelest person in the world, but a dog will still find something to love about you. They're just amazing creatures. They are literally like mankind's best friends.
Okay, JayBee, do me a favour, be quiet for 2 minutes so I can explain my side of this, because you make me sound horrific. I was brought up that I wasn't allowed dogs, so I got really, really scared of them just because I was never allowed to be around them. And then the ones that I was allowed to be around, I'm from like an area of the countryside where they think dogs should be kept outside or kept in a cage.
Yeah, they think the same about coloured people, and you change that around.
So the dogs that I was around weren't particularly nice or friendly, and as I said, I kind of grew a phobia of dogs. It just happened. And then when I met JayBee and went to JayBee's family's house, I was greeted by a huge dog that I had no idea was about to like greet me at their house. It was a
medium-sized dog, and you're making it sound like Cujo.
I got over my fear of dogs within a split second at that point.
You didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. You were shaking.
Okay, for like a minute.
What, 60 seconds? Just there shaking?
And then I wasn't scared of dogs anymore. So
dogs are the best.
Like, don't make me sound like a bad person. It was a phobia, not like an hatred.
It is a hatred.
It's a phobia.
They smell, they wee everywhere, they crap everywhere. They're gorgeous though. If you train them right, no, stop. They're just good. I think if you train them right, and again, admittedly, if you've got the facilities to train dogs, there's no downside to them. I mean, they make crap on the floor sometimes, but humans make mistakes sometimes. Humans make messes sometimes. Like, nobody is perfect. And, like, imagine if someone tried to break into this place tonight and we had a dog. They just run away. There's no downside.
The thing is that there's some dogs who, only need minimal training, because not like minimal as in you only teach them to go outside to do their business, sit, stay, that's it. It does take a lot more. But the thing is, dogs, if you build up that bond no matter what, because, I, of course, was at that stage going to a really bad school, so I wasn't home during the day. Especially, we just gone Tatty, I was doing my SATs and stuff, so for people who don't know, SATs is like a year 6 exam before you go to secondary school. It's torture. And I was having breakdowns and everything. So for me, I came home and just cuddled her. I didn't do like a lot of the training with her. But we've gotten this like shaggy Scooby bond because of that comfort. And now, I will do some training with her, even though she's going to be 10 this year, which is grown up, people. She's just growing up and my baby's getting older. But dogs can be amazing. And I think what this movie shows especially is that you don't need to be like rough with your dog. Sometimes you need to put your foot down and be like, okay, enough, stop barking, just sit, stay, shut up, mind your own business.
Yeah, you need to shush them sometimes.
Yeah. Like, sometimes I have to do a Tatty because she barks and interrupts me.
And with people as well, though, like, sometimes you guys have to shush me.
I have a feeling Millie's going like, shush, JayBee, please. But, this movie, I think, shows a great relationship between dog and human. And I think, Tatty even tries to talk. You guys have heard her. It's like she's trying to form words. So I guess Tatty really is like the Scooby of our little gang. But, the bond that is shown. And I looked up quickly, and Matthew had a puppet that was made of Scooby to deal with in certain scenes. So, he had to like create this bond and story in his head with that puppet that is hard to do because he's like, come on, you know, it's all going to be okay, pal. We'll be all right. Let's go off to the beach and, you know, make some vegan sausages or whatever vegans do. And no hate on vegans, by the way. I just don't understand like food processing and stuff. But yeah, you know.
No,
Moral of
vegans
the
are the most
story, it's a good
annoying
relationship.
people on Twitter.
JayBee, don't.
JayBee.
Well, there's no need. There's no need.
JayBee.
Let's move JayBee on a little bit then.
Right, there are
So,
just final word. In my opinion, there are no bad dogs, just bad owners. And that's all I'm gonna say. If you've been bit by a dog, it's probably your fault.
Not if
bitten
it's
by a
not
dog.
your dog.
Yeah,
I've been
well,
bitten
then
by
it's
a
the
dog
owner's
before.
fault. Who was the owner?
Oh, it was a guy who he still lives there, like 5 doors down from me. I was in infant school. I went and I was looking at the Christmas lights. I wasn't even close to their front gate, and next thing you know, his white Belgian German Shepherd dog jumped over and bit me around my eye. Luckily, my hat actually saved my eye. Otherwise, I would have been like Nick Fury right now.
I guarantee the man's a criminal.
I mean, the dog did bite 3 postmen and was outside at night. And
Yeah, it's a pattern.
but he has small dogs now, and the dogs are lovely.
I want to
I
be a
think.
small dog. I want to be like Scrappy. Right, Mel.
Right.
No.
Let's move on
Moving
the
your
story.
story on.
Let's
So-
switch up the scene.
They go, so we get a kind of time jump here. And Scooby and Shaggy are at the beach. They're living in the mystery machine, making eggplant burgers. And at this point, Kent Vader added a little like deleted scene that I was like looking out for, in that they were meant to have pots for sale outside. And I don't know if you noticed, Rihanna, on your watch through, but you see them. But you don't see the sign, but on a table and chairs next to the mystery machine, there's a pot and there's one on the floor. And I was so excited to kind of add that to the knowledge.
I had always had it in my head in the interview that there was going to be a pot $5 sign on the wall of the mystery machine, and that it would, in that kind of talk about toasted scene, you were just gonna see that sign, and it was just gonna pan down to the inside of the mystery machine where they were making them. I never got that it was just meant to be in like a market stall outside, but it's kind of cool because if you think about it, there's so much that would have been deleted from that scene alone. If you think about things like, because we've spent minimal time around that side of the mystery machine, and so if you've got to imagine that in the Gosnell cut, there's a lot of interactions around that area that we just don't see, and that's kind of what fascinates me a lot.
It is still very fascinating. But ultimately, one of the representatives of Spooky Island comes to try and push Shaggy and Scooby into going to the airport with all they can eat.
Are they possessed, do we think?
No, I think they come across too well.
Because I don't know. I think I remember you see them at the end possessed, but I don't know if they're just employed at this point. And like you say, they come across like, because when they're possessed, they're meant to be like hip and young, aren't they?
Yeah.
But these guys are just.
I'd say
normal.
they're probably just employed at that point, because and if your boss turns around to you and says, "Okay, here's an all expenses paid trip to America. All I need you to do is go to this place, this place, this place, and this place to speak with these 4 people, and basically provide them an offer they can't refuse of coming to the island." You're going to be like, "Yes, free holiday, let's go."
See, here's the thing. I almost feel like Shaggy and Scooby would have been the last people that they reached out to. And so all the other things that is on offer, I feel like he's just going through the motions of what worked on the gang. And this time I've done something that I've never done while watching this, and I was almost trying to pair up what he was offering to like which one that convinced. So for $1,000, I'm kind of thinking Fred. Free airfare, maybe Daphne, because it's like traveling, maybe.
No, I'd have said the other way around. I'd have said the $1,000 Daphne, because it's clothes, it's shoes.
Yeah.
Free airfare, maybe Fred, because it's like, okay, yeah, why not?
Cheapskate.
Room and board, maybe Velma, because she's thinking the logistics of when she gets there as opposed to the impulsivity. But that's why I think the reverse of JayBee, because I'm almost thinking that they would be the first ones they approach, because it's like, okay, which one of these things am I meant to try and sell them? Like, we know these 4 things are going to work. Because ultimately, if you're trying to sell Shaggy and Scooby into going somewhere, you're going to be like, okay, come here, there's free food. You don't need to bother going, okay, $10,000, free airfare, room and board. You should have literally just said, yeah, come here, it's all you can eat. They're going to be like, yes.
Why did he invite the rest of the gang?
Because I guess at that stage, they didn't know that Mr. Ink had broken up. Because when they got rid of Scrappy, they were still together. So I'm guessing they were thinking, okay, you need to locate these people and invite them to the island.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So ultimately, everyone agrees to go. And at the airport, they all start to run into each other. So we first see Fred and Velma, and it's like, oh, have you been? And like, it's just like quite an awkward dynamic. I feel like they acted it well. Like, I feel like we see so much progression in the movie because I feel like things are quite awkward at that stage. And I think they'd said that at this stage, Matthew Lillard, Freddie Prinze, and Sarah Michelle Gellar had all worked together. So those 3 had a pre-existing connection. And that Linda Cardellini was kind of a bit on the outside, like they'd not really met with them before. So I feel like you almost got that dynamic watching it in that initially things were quite, off balance with Velma, especially with the Fred at the start. But then there's some scenes like when they're leaving Spooky Island Castle together and stuff like that where the dynamic comes together. Almost like they'd got more comfortable with each other on set, as well as the fact that they were rekindling this like friendship.
And also, I guess it would have been difficult to act in that airport more than any other setting, because in the behind the scenes, they literally have to do so many takes because, like, what do you call it, an impromptu? Like, the loudspeaker in the airport was, like, announcing genuine flights. And so who knows what cut was used or if it was the best cut, because there would have been so many. Obviously, our guy Kent Bader would have probably chosen the best cuts, but you know what I mean? You don't know how tired the actors would have been of rehashing the same lines over and over again. Whereas the Spooky Island Castle, like, that's not going to be a real place that was used by the general public at the time of filming, so they probably had a bit more free range to be who they are. Not
only that, but what I'm going to say is the person I felt most sorry for on that day, like you were saying, they did say they had to do multiple takes, was the person in the Scooby Grandma outfit, because they had to wear this green mask. They were fully concealed, their face fully concealed. Imagine how warm you would be and how many times you would have to do that take over and over again because of the speaker. Like, walking around in heels and this zipped up mask, it would be awful.
But I think it's good movie making ultimately, because they do a lot and it looks decent for way back in 2002. So I think I do feel sorry for them, but at the same time I would assume that the person that was under the mask was probably used to that type of work.
Maybe. I guess before, like, while we're talking about the airport as well, I do want to touch on Daphne's character. I feel at this point they don't do them justice, and I realise I sound like JayBee. In that, like, I almost feel like if you look at the deleted scenes, they're meant to have had, quote, this journey of self-discovery, yet they're still acting like a diva at the counter.
Like, disagree.
Why can't I have this many bags? It's like, for God's sake, half of them are tiny. Just bring some, like, you could have literally just had 3 reasonable sized ones for the 15 that you're crying about having. Like, come on.
Well, I kind of disagree. I appreciate what you're saying, and I was actually going to agree with you, but I don't think that going on a journey of self-discovery and being a stronger fighter should change your entire opinion. Like, you can be strong and a bit bossy, and you can be strong and the nicest person in the world. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to go hand in hand. I think they did her a disservice in that they deleted her training montage, because, like, we're meant to see we're not meant to see Fred as the bad person, but I want to say that when Fred's just laughing at her, we're not meant to be fully on board with that. But you can't be helped if you do laugh along with Fred, because when she's saying, "Oh, I'm a black belt now," we've literally seen no evidence of that so far, so it is kind of
all
laughable.
we're seeing is her stomping her foot with a little purple sunglasses on.
That's all we see, so we don't see a change. And so it is quite funny when she's like, "Oh, I'm a black belt now." It's kind of like, well, are you? Like, what have you done so far? But whereas if we got that training montage, we would have been more on the same page with everyone.
But then I feel like she'd have lost the credibility that she made there in this scene, because she does literally stomp her foot like a 5-year-old child. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, but those boots are so sexy.
Okay, so then there's the
I have a thing
aeroplane.
for boots even to this day.
There's the aeroplane scene. As we found out with Kent Vader, there's quite a few things that were removed from there that would have added some context that could have been quite interesting, especially around like Velma and Daphne's story arc. But at this stage we meet Mary Jane, which again, another kind of funny drugs reference that was slotted in there, as Kent Vader kind of said, for Shaggy.
I'm kind of not a fan of Mary Jane.
I think it was a good dynamic, because I think it kind of gave them a reason why they fell out with Scooby a little bit and things had to be revised. So for all you don't want to see that, it did play to the story slightly. Also, if they wanted to bring in another female character, it was good that they didn't do it for Fred, because as you said, that's something you're tired of. So to give Shaggy a more unique storyline, I think was better.
I think, and I don't want to spoil the interview, but Craig Titley had a concept for Shaggy having a girlfriend, and I wish that when James Gunn was writing the script for this, he'd paid more attention to what Craig Titley had written, because I think he handles it quite a bit better there. But it suits the story we've got, and I honestly wouldn't change anything about this movie, because I'm almost like, who knows what it would have changed, because it's such an influential movie to me. That one deleted scene or one tiny thing being different with it could have just affected my entire timeline.
Okay, so when the aeroplane lands, we get some more of the music that JayBee said they'd been enjoying, which is In the Land of a Million Drums.
Yeah, the Land of a Million Drums, and that pan through the water and then the shot up to Spooky Island for the first time is peak.
Oh, and Rowan Atkinson's voice over that, though. Rowan Atkinson's voice is incredible, but funny kind of story from me growing up. I thought Mr. Bean was played by an actor who had an impairment where they couldn't speak. Because I don't know if I was just a ridiculous child. So when I saw Rowan Atkinson talking in this movie, I got very confused initially.
And I guess this is part of my kind of behind the scenes. So I reached out to Rowan Atkinson's people, right? His agents, his team, his office, I don't know what to call them. But they said that he was very busy and that he wouldn't be available, right? But I'm really, really happy and proud of myself for trying, because he is such a big name and I think he's such an iconic actor. But it just goes to show that no office or no studio should be too busy to reach back out to you, even if it's to say, oh, we're so sorry, we wish you the best, but they're unavailable. And that is what I enjoy about doing this, is because for all it didn't work out, like we didn't get to interview them. At least not yet, you know what I mean? I'm not ruling it out. But I don't know, I want the people to listen to this know that I'm literally trying every angle, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but you know what I mean. Like, a reply for no is better than no reply. And so some agents just need to get their finger out the butt and just say no sometimes.
So yeah, they arrive at the island and meet Rowan Atkinson's character, which I really enjoy. Rihanna, what do you think to Mr. Emil Monteverest?
Or is it Mondo Ejagaga?
What? I love Rowan Atkinson. He's an amazing actor and voiceover artist. He's just, that whole scene. Also, going back to the whole airport scene. Grandma, don't eat the kitten. That's iconic. But
Grandma.
he's amazing, and I think he plays it so well because, it's been out long enough, so it isn't really spoilers, I guess. At the end, we see actual Monteverest or whatever his name is, and he has to play two completely different characters when you look at it. Personality-wise, he has to grow as an actor throughout the movie, but he also has to have that mindset that, okay, I'm someone who's a robot as well, but I have to come across as human. So it's like several different depths. And then at the final bit, He's like, I've been stuck in there for 2 years. So, okay, 2 years, what would I have done? What would I look like? Okay, what would I sound like? Would I be like over the top? Would I, there's humans, not a talking Scrappy Doo. So, kudos to him. He did a great job. Like, the acting in this, everyone delved so deep into it. I love it so much.
And it's so kind of inspirational hearing from Roger Gosnell in the behind the scenes about how difficult Rowan Atkinson was to get. Because I think they mentioned that they sent him like 5 scripts and he said no 5 times. And then they said, okay, let's contact someone that knows him personally and ask if we can at least just have 5 minutes to pitch to him personally on I guess it would have been a Skype call back then or whatever. And that they managed it. I just think it's really cool that they cared so much about the image, because I know that they wanted Tim Curry originally, but he said no the second he found out that Scrappy was involved. But the fact that they had a vision and they weren't going to give up on Rowan Atkinson, I just think is an inspiration. So I really like that they got them, and he does add some quite unexpected star power to the movie. Because I think at this point, I don't know when it was released, I think it's older, but he was already Mr. Bean and already Zazu in The Lion King. And I think even Johnny English at that point too.
Yeah. Okay, and what I like about the next kind of few scenes is expanding on Spooky Island. So you get kind of their first evening there. So it's Dead Mike's bar, there's the place where Velma goes, where there's is it Marcos and the other person whose name I'm not too sure of?
Zarkos, the wrestler.
Yeah. And
Una.
yes, thank you for the names, JayBee.
Oh, he said no. His people said that he wasn't available. That Naguta Una. And the guy that was the bartender at Dead Mike's is dead. It's not on IMDb, but rest in peace, David Vallon. Because he was cool, He had a little part in the Dawn Treader movie for Narnia.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a shame that I had to find out that way and it's not on IMDb, because I feel like it really should be. But yeah, good guy, and I'm sorry for the loss of the family.
Yeah. And there's the hamburger scene then, and we meet Melvin Doo as well.
Oh,
they are completely central in that scene.
He's great. I want him to become the Stanley of
Scooby.
Of the Scooby movie. Even in animation now, if we just get his line, "Don't you mean Melvin Doo?" every time someone asks for Scooby in these direct-to-DVD movies, I just think that would be so cool.
It would be. Okay, and we know that they tried to remove a lot of references that made this movie a bit older, right? And there's one reference in this scene that I was a French student, so I did French to I got a GCSE in and stuff. I did it to a relatively high level. I'm shocked that they left. It's a song, so I guess maybe not. But the "Voulez-vous coucher avec moi" line, I was a bit baffled that was still in there. Because we got we kind of got a newer rough translation for that.
No, you're saying it. Don't point at me.
No, because you say anything remotely non-PG.
No, because then you guys attack me for it.
Yeah, but it's who you are.
I can't deal with this crap. Right. The saying "Voulez-vous coucher avec moi" means in French. We're cutting that. We're not cutting that out.
In French, continue.
It means, "Do you want to have sex with me tonight?" That's what the saying means. But I agree in a way. It's a song, so it doesn't really mean. Well, it does mean it, but it's a different context. So I think even very innocent songs, if you ever danced to the song "The Macarena," I think that if you translate it, is a song about a woman that cheats on her husband while he's in the military with many men.
I know is. Oops, sorry.
Ooh, no. You continue.
I said that line a couple of times when I was going to school, and one of my former friends, she was French, and she claimed she liked Scooby Doo, but then she also said she never watched Scooby Doo. So I was like, and she always laughed at me. And I was like, "What does it mean?" And she wouldn't tell me. And I would just go around saying it.
Oh, no.
Sometimes.
Oh, no, that's cool. She should have told you. But like, we were just watching it again and I was like, I've never actually checked, but I'm sure that that means that. And when we checked, it did. And it's kind of like, if they're trying to remove words like demons and stuff like that, surely there's things that's more prominent and explicit that they should have removed.
This is what annoys me. I understand if the studio wanted to take this film in another way, 1,000,000%, and like I've already said, I'm glad that it did go this way. It just rubs me the wrong way that the only reason why this movie was changed is because a group of Karens in a movie theatre didn't like it. Like, one cinema full of people didn't like it, and so the director has to change their vision just to accommodate to
but
that.
they're thinking on a law of averages. Like, they're not going to think that everybody in that movie theatre was a quote Karen. They're going to think that they've selected a good representation of the general public.
They didn't. And like what do we do with Karens nowadays? Okay, when they're freaking out in shops, we video them, we put them on cringe compilations on YouTube. Back in 2002, we let them change our movies, and I'm saying enough is enough. Let's revolt against these Karens. Enough is enough. We laugh at them today. We didn't back then, and maybe we should have. Now, again, probably the right decision, but it's just, it should be the director's vision all the time. And every time we see that now, like the Snyder Cut for Warner Brothers, people didn't like the Justice League movie, but the Snyder Cut people loved because it was the director's vision. It wasn't perfect, but you could tell that they had a story to tell. And I think that's why that for all this movie will be the definitive movie now. I think it's so important that we have the Gosnell cut after all this time, because even if it's worse than this, I think every director deserves the chance for their vision to be displayed. And again, it's just, I just think it's laughable why they changed it.
Okay, so we have spoken about most things happening that evening. Like we say, Velma went somewhere. Scooby was chasing after hamburgers. Shaggy was saying very inappropriate things to Mary Jane in French. But Daphne was trying to solve the mystery. She went to find the voodoo guy.
Yeah, and
So, JayBee,
I can say this. Pretty soon we're going to reach out to the voodoo guy who's played by Miguel Nunes Jr. And I'm really hoping that works out.
We've got their number, we just need to call them.
Yeah, because they're funny and they've been in a few horror movies that a few of our friends really like. So I'm really excited to potentially arrange something with them. Because I'm just very happy. I'm excited to move forward with plans for this film and the celebration of it. So yeah, continue.
Yeah, so JayBee, you like the character?
Yeah, he's good for what he is, you know. He's what I think, he's almost the satire of the movie. So it's about an island that gets overrun with these demons, these possessed people. And yet there's this guy here doing the most ridiculous voodoo things, and yet you can't help but think that he never gets possessed in any of this movie. So it's kind of like, is it all working? Has he just become nuts through all this time living on the island? And like we say, Scrappy Doo's been there maybe 2 years. And for him to have survived all that time just waving these Arnuki beasts around is just so funny to me, that you've got Scrappy Doo in a mechanical suit, and yet this guy blowing himself up every other day is like fighting
and like slicing chickens hanging from the roof. And
to be fair, that I'm surprised was let in, because I'd imagine, and we've touched upon this, like today I don't think that would fly with the vegan audience. Like, I really don't. Well, it's not gonna fly because it's dead, but like I don't think that would go well with the vegans. No, that's
wait,
my flags is dead.
I mean, I feel like you can only remove so many things to keep people happy. Ultimately, if people want to be fussy, there's always going to be something that someone could get upset about.
Well, all the time, you know, like I love China, some parts of it.
Oh, I'm scared.
And I love the culture, some parts of it. No, but this is an actual thing. The Chinese government, I think, they have this thing where they ban movies if there's anything to do with like the mystic arts, magic, witchcraft. Yeah. So I'm not going to spoil it for Rihanna, but the new Spider-Man movie, for reasons, they have banned it in China because it has some element of that fantastical elements
The
in
mystic
it.
art.
So it's like, you know, there's always going to be this thing where, like, imagine how many people are in China. How many people would have bought tickets to the new Spider-Man movie? So many. Like, we've seen how popular it is here, in the States.
They should have just bought a flight ticket to the nearest country where they can watch it.
And so the Chinese audience, I think millions upon millions of revenue they could have made by selling it to China, by appeasing to the Chinese and saying, okay, we're going to remove this, we're going to remove that. Like, please just show our movie in your theatres. But they were like, no, this is the vision, this is what we want to do with it. We might be walking away from millions, but it doesn't matter. I think sometimes studios just need to do that. And obviously you can make the argument, okay, Marvel can afford to ignore China. Marvel and Disney can afford to not need that Chinese
But
audience.
so can Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Rihanna, what did you think to the voodoo character?
Voodoo. Do you know voodoo?
Hoodoo?
Voodoo, 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 we do, we do.
I really like him. He's funny, and he's one that you could take serious, but also no one really take. Okay, there's okay. So this is just a thought that's hit me. There's a character, well, a wrestler in WWE called R-Truth. He is so crazy, and he will say anything. Like, oh gosh, there's so many iconic lines, but he is insane basically, and he's funny. The voodoo guy reminds me of him so much, and I'm going to send you guys on, like, when you come to visit me, which will happen soon hopefully. I'm going to tie you up and make you watch like R-Truth's greatest moments, because you'll be killing yourself laughing.
No. You are crazy. You actually are crazy. Like, I'm gonna tie you up and I'm gonna make you watch Avengers Endgame, because it's been out 2 years and you've still not seen it. Like, okay, audience, if Rihanna has not watched Avengers Endgame in a month's time, okay, so the 9th of the 5th, DM her on Instagram every single spoiler from that movie, because it's ridiculous. Why have you not seen this movie? This is insane.
I've told you why.
Look,
I have told you.
Enough is
Because
enough. Enough is enough.
I've not. JayBee, I've
need to be
avoided
stopped.
spoilers. I've avoided spoilers for the past 5 years. I don't know how I've managed to do it, but I have, and I'm proud of myself.
Wait, is Endgame 5 years old?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel old. Is it?
Surely not. We've not been together 5 years, right?
Wait.
Someone find out when Endgame was released.
Although Rihanna is behind Endgame, like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't think
I
you've
thought
seen
Rihanna
yet,
had seen
right?
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, wait, no, hang on. It came out 2019, so
3 years.
2019, 3 years. So I've avoided spoilers for 3 years.
Actually,
I'm proud of myself.
is that the next movie you have to watch, or do you need to do Ant-Man and the
No.
Wasp as well?
I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp.
So Endgame would be the next one you need to watch.
Yeah,
And
and
you're
the
gonna
thing
do
is,
it. You're
okay,
gonna do it. It's
JayBee,
been long enough.
JayBee,
It's been long enough.
JayBee, darling.
I'm gonna
listen to me.
cry. You are gonna make me cry.
JayBee, okay. You know how I got in my review for Scoob, okay? Infinity War was pretty much the same. My brother came back in tears. My brother's friends were in tears. Everyone who I've spoken to was in tears about Endgame. Gave me no spoilers, but they were like, it's sad. And I'm literally here just like, okay, am I emotionally stable enough to watch this? No. So I'm not. Did you not see my breakdown I had yesterday?
Look, yeah. Oh, I can't even say that line to you because you're not American. I was gonna say I have a British accent. You will listen to what I have to say. Right, that doesn't work because you've got
I
a
have
posher
a
accent than me. You've got yeah. Maybe you're right because you sound the more learned. I will. No spoilers for Rihanna. I will surrender my point.
No, what we will say is Rihanna, when Rihanna's ready to watch it and catches up as quickly as possible, I really, 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 really want to be there when you watch the new Spider-Man movie for the first time.
Well, you've had time. You've had time. You've had time. It's been ages. Tell me.
JayBee,
Okay.
I also...
No. Sure. What are you? Tell me your plans for tomorrow. Tell me your plans for tomorrow, Rihanna. From start to finish.
I'll wake up,
Yeah.
eat some lunch.
Yeah.
I have to do some schoolwork
Lunch,
because
okay.
school is important.
School, yeah.
And then we have, I can't say this, can I? 2 interviews. We have 2 back-to-back interviews. So JayBee.
Oh crap! That tomorrow was the worst example to you. Yeah, okay, it's my fault. It's my fault, isn't it? You know what? I will admit, I work you guys.
No, don't say that, because then you're gonna like end up telling her not to attend interviews to watch it. Say Sunday.
What's your plans for Sunday?
Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, our conservatory is almost finished, and they're laying the flooring. So
Are you laying the flooring?
Well, the thing is it's going to be a lot of noise, so a lot of distraction.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Also, I have, you know what, on Sundays.
Look, okay, if you can find time in your busy schedule to watch the end game, I will appreciate it because it's time. It is time.
Okay, JayBee, what? Listen. Okay. Here's what I'll do. My brother wants to also watch it. My mum wants to watch it. My sister wants. Okay, so we all want to watch it. But we haven't because of me. So my brother's next holiday, which will hopefully be soon, I will sit and I will watch it, and I will let you know when, and it will be before May, I hope, probably.
May, you hope?
That's within the next 3 weeks. You were giving her 4 weeks.
I could make a baby before May.
You would break all level of science if you yourself were to make a baby, especially in 3 weeks.
I'm going to start a new Smash or Pass podcast reviewing every single MCU movie, and I'm going to release an episode every day, and it's going to force you to watch the end game.
Okay, you know what? Okay, here's what we're going to do. I've thought of something.
No, and also I have to interject. If people are in the premiere complaining and bitching about tangents, you know us by now. This is not concentrated commentary. This is who we are. If you want concentrated commentary, please watch the interviews. The reviews are just for us, okay? Because we're friends. We shoot the shit. This is what we do here. So if you leave if you're bored. Leave if you're bored. God damn it.
I'm gonna laugh if the number halves at this point.
I don't care. I do this for my own pleasure. I don't do it for viewership.
Okay.
JayBee,
I do
Rihanna's
this.
plan, JayBee.
I do this to pleasure myself.
JayBee, Rihanna's plan.
Right, Rihanna's plan.
What we'll do,
Oh god.
I will watch Endgame by the 3rd of May, okay? And
No,
then we
that's
can
6 days earlier than you wanted.
Okay.
Then what we can do, so before the 3rd of May, I will watch it. And as soon as I've watched it, I don't care what you guys are doing or what Ash is doing. We are reviewing Endgame. There we go.
Oh no. Look.
Yeah, you know what? We'll do that, yeah, and we can get Smash on the podcast, and we're going to end it up with a discussion about this movie. Because I don't understand where Smash is. In fact, if I had my phone with me, I'd call him.
He's with JayBee.
No, but this is an event, okay? This is what this whole show that has been leading up to. And I wish that I did take the time to make a new visual, because he's just there looking at me. And I miss him because he would have disagreed with me on this movie, and I would have shouted at him, and we would have cried, we would have shouted, but then we would have hugged it out because we're like that.
I'm genuinely about to cry, like JayBee, this is peer pressure. Like I have the DVD staring at me with all my Scooby Doo ones, all my Marvel ones. It's just looking at me, and it's making me sad because I'm remembering things from Infinity War, and I want to cry over Infinity War.
I'll send you
And-
clips of Infinity War until the day you watch Endgame. I'll clip them. Every time you
Maybe
see
you
your
want
favourite
me to be
characters
depressed?
dusting, I'll just stream it to you.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going like oh gosh, this is not something for the podcast. Yeah.
No, what you mean, JayBee, is that there's like positive Marvel things that you can move on to, like WandaVision and stuff like that once you get past
Well,
Endgame.
WandaVision's
That's
good.
what you're getting at. There is positive things out there, JayBee. Let's word this nicely.
There's nothing but
there, though?
positivity. There's
Is that
there's
because,
so
like,
much
people-
positivity. No. Trust me.
Yeah,
This
but
is why I want you to
people-
watch the Endgame, because there's so
Yeah, but
much
it's
cool
so
stuff happening.
depressing.
There's so much cool stuff happening. But that's not the point. Let's get back on track. You,
Yeah.
Millie, come on. Let's do this. You've got
We just had like a 10-minute tangent.
Don't
Well, the
blame me,
tangents-
JayBee.
the tangents are what make us us.
I
okay?
haven't been the
Yeah,
bully
but-
of the group.
Yeah, JayBee. Millie was trying to calm you down.
I
You
think
were being-
the Smash would have been on my side. I think.
No, Smash doesn't watch Marvel.
What?
See, that's weird.
Whoa, wait, what? What?
They said they only
Well-
watch Marvel if one of their friends forced them
Then
to do
again,
it, which
though,
people
people have-
trying to do
Oh
to you.
my-
Then again, people have the same
Okay.
attitude to me thinking that Smash is weird for not liking Marvel. If I say I've never watched Star Wars, people are like, "Oh my god,
Or Lord of the Rings.
yeah, I've never seen any of them." So maybe I'm the weird one as well.
With JayBee on that. I haven't seen either of them.
Neither
But
have
how
I.
can
Like,
you avoid
Marvel,
Marvel?
come
Like,
on.
if not the MCU, come on, the original Spider-Man,
Okay.
like X-Men,
But
maybe.
the thing is that Marvel is dominating everything, and if like okay, say if Endgame and Scooby Doo 2002 came out today, I can guarantee that Scooby Doo will beat Avengers Endgame because Scooby Doo is incredible. But people will go from Endgame to watching Scooby Doo because they'll want to laugh, they'll want to have a nice moment because. All I'm seeing with Marvel is it's gone like it's a depression session. You want something to cry at to watch a Marvel movie. I cry during like Winter Soldier. I cry in almost every single Marvel movie. But I'm dreading Endgame and now you're forcing me to watch it. So, I'll give you the therapy bill.
What I will say.
Wait, the therapy, you're not paying. Well, actually, I can't say that, actually, 'cause that's ridiculous. That's actually a bad message. If therapy's good.
What I'd say is that once you progress past Endgame, you open up the Disney
Yeah,
Plus
and I'm not
series.
doing any spoilers, right?
And they
But
are much
Marvel
more
are doing,
positive.
and this is relevant to Scooby. Marvel, like every studio, so Marvel has done something recently that has capitalized on certain nostalgia. Ghostbusters have done certain things recently that have capitalized on nostalgia. So has Scream. And every single one of those things has been lucrative, has been profitable, and it seems like the only people that aren't really ramping up,
Here you go, Warner Brothers.
yeah, is Warner Brothers. Like they're the
Disappointing
only
us
ones
as always.
not doing that thing. And it's like and I kind of disagree. Like I think if 2002 came out as its own thing without this, I don't think it would touch what a Marvel movie could bring in. However, I think if they reunited this cast made a third movie, I think it would. I really do think it would match Marvel. Genuinely. So Warner Brothers, if you love money, please just make something happen.
You know what they could do? Because they could do a spin-off short film of how Scrappy came to find out about like the Damon Vitus and all that stuff.
Ooh. See, that would be kind of cool. Although I don't think people would like that because people tend to not really like Scrappy, and so to market something solely on him might not be the best money decision.
Okay, so bringing it back to where we were at with the plot, they're all about to go to. Well, they all find themselves together in the Spooky Island Castle, which ultimately consists of a closed-down ride where the ride turns itself on while they're all looking around and starts to like cause a few problems. Like Velma pretty much has to save Fred's life,
What do you say, Fred?
Scooby and Shaggy get tied to a wall of food that they have to eat their way through.
Is that where Lady Gaga got her meat costume inspired from?
It is. Like, 2002 is just an icon for everybody. And Daphne has to, like, cling to that ride and not, like, fall off. So, yeah, like, you know, it kind of shows a lot of real threat in this movie more than some Scooby movies do. Like, there's actual swinging blades heading towards Fred and Velma.
But again, after that, perhaps the most 2000 scene in the world, that training montage, like, hey, no big whoop dog, like,
Word.
stuff like that. Obviously, that's not how people used to speak casually in 2002 and stuff. But the caricature, the kind of corny representation of it, is so exclusive to the early 2000s. It's just, it's kind of cheesy, but I love it a lot. And again, can I just point out that Daphne is the one that finds the Daemonitis? So she's the one doing all this cool stuff.
That's very true. And at that... So at that stage, sorry, Rhiannon, did you say something? I don't want to, like, cut over you then.
Sorry, isn't it at this stage we also get the burping and farting scene?
Oh, it is.
And Daphne walks in.
Dude, that's kind of stupid, that scene, but 9 times out of 10 it has me howling with laughter. Maybe I've just got an immature sense of humour, but...
I can't believe the Karens allowed it.
Oh, for God's sake. Well, what are they going to complain about with burping and farting?
Well, my gran can be a little bit of a Karen, and if someone wants to fart in front of her, she'll be like, go to the
that's
toilet.
actually disrespectful, because I want to say, okay, and this is a hot take, but if you have survived through a war, you've got a bit more right to be a Karen than the modern day Karens, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you've survived through a war, you can pretty much say whatever you want to me. Like, I hate racism, right? And if you're old enough to have survived the war, I am not going to hold it against you for being a little bit, like, behind the terms on, like, what's politically correct or not. Like, come on, you can't call someone that's gone through a war a Karen. Unless the Nazis. Then they're kind of worse than Karens.
Okay, JayBee, let's continue with the story. So,
I just like old people.
once leaving Spooky Island Castle, they all split up, and that's kind of where we see them all taking different routes. Velma, again, showing the brains. They take the Daemonitis, try and work out what the inscriptions and stuff are. There is the flashback to the Scrappy scene when they were in Mystery Inc. They pee on Daphne and get kicked out. And just at this stage again, I really enjoy Linda Cardellini's acting. Just how I never compare myself to Velma. I always try my hardest not to do it. But like Velma's eye roll and everything, then I can relate to so much. Like my worst habit in the world is rolling my eyes. I don't know. I physically can't control it.
Why not?
I don't know. But I'm always in trouble with JayBee for rolling my eyes at him, because I'll admit, whenever he winds me up, I just roll my eyes.
I guess this is a part of my controversial input now.
Okay.
And again, you guys can feel free to stop me if you think I'm saying too much.
Okay.
But not out of, not out of like, because obviously I don't want you guys to just crap on me just because you think it's the right thing to do. Like, I want to genuinely share behind the scenes with people. So one of the people that we've been trying to get in touch with to interview is Scott Innes, right? And he's always ignored us. And you know what I mean? And I don't know the reason why, but I have a few strong theories that I'm not going to share, but people can assume what they want to on the show. I'm not going to confirm or deny it either way. But, I do think that there is a reason why. But, like, it's just ridiculous because his wife is his agent, his PR person, his publicist. And when I reached out last, she literally just blocked us. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think Scott Innes is a really good Scrappy. I feel sorry for Scott Innes because you can tell that he has a passion for Scooby. And you know what I mean? I think his issue being Shaggy and Scooby are he does a good Shaggy, but Matthew Lillard is around and he does a better Shaggy. He does a good Scooby, but you know, Frank Welker's around and he does a better Scooby. I think if they were to bring Scrappy back, Scott Innes would be the perfect Scrappy. I think he captures the character well. I think he does a really good job in this movie. I'm glad they replaced him for Scooby, but in terms of his Scrappy performance, especially in this scene when he's like, oh, you don't have the scope for this job, he's amazing. I think he is our Scrappy. But I kind of like, I don't know. It's like if your PR person is so close to you that, you know, that they want to ignore people based on what may or may not be a personal matter or something connected to someone else, I just kind of feel like you need a professional publicist or a professional PR person that isn't connected to you, that has your best interest at heart. Because we are literally going to be featured on Screen Rant loads. We're going to have coverage. We're going to be the most prolific podcast in terms of guests at the end of this, guaranteed, because I'm going to make sure that that happens. And so by the end of our mission, it's actually going to be pretty embarrassing that you've not shown up for this gathering, for this celebration. And so, like, great, you know, I just feel like you need someone on your team that has your interest at heart and just isn't making things personal. And that's kind of what I'm going to say on it.
In terms of the flashback scene, I'd agree with you that Scott Innes was a very good voice for Scrappy. I think I'd agree with you that they don't stand out to me as the most prominent for Scooby or Shaggy, but yeah, Scrappy, certainly, they do the voice really well. The flashback scene, I think they did a good job of aging down all the cast as well. That looked quite good.
Age them down though, because I
think so. Like with Daphne, they definitely kind of did the makeup more overdone on the eyes, kind of like you would do when you were younger. Like when I was younger, I used to wear more makeup because I wanted to look older, and I feel like they kind of did her makeup more heavy in a similar way, like they'd be trying to look older. Yeah, ultimately, I think they did the flashback sequence really well. Like I say, you could tell that it was meant to be kind of in the past. I do think they tried to at least age them down. And Scrappy, again, was done well. I don't have anything against Scrappy. I was relatively indifferent that
this
they were
Scrappy,
there.
though, which I love, and again, this is credit to Scott Innes' performance, is you can imagine them being the Scrappy from the classic series, if you get me. Like, you can imagine them just going through the motion, saying, let me at him, being part of the gang. But it doesn't sound weird when they're saying stuff like, you don't have the scrote for this. Because it fits. It's like very good performance.
Okay, Rihanna, what did you think to this flashback?
Are you crying?
No, I had something on my face that was hurting me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Rihanna, what did you think to this flashback sequence?
I really liked it, and I'm probably going to be murdered in JB's mind for saying this, but I like full on laugh every time I see Scrappy pee on Daphne.
I mean, I think you've got too much of a high opinion of me because
God, no, JB, you don't need to go there, I promise you.
I want Daphne to wee on me.
JB.
I'd pay for the privilege. I'd pay for the privilege.
No, that's
£1,000.
Right, JB, we're moving on.
£2,000. £5,000.
Oh, God.
JB.
I'd save up for years.
JB, right, we're moving on. So after the flashback sequence, Velma's been researching the Damon writers. Fred and Daphne reappear from what we, through our Kent Bader interview of Lenticity, was that conjoining room scene, which was
You're just too good.
Really good. And then, yeah, like you say there, you're singing.
You're singing.
We learned again from Kent Bader that there was a scene here where Velma was singing, which is why all the gang's like applauding so profusely and stuff. Because it should have been Velma singing at that stage, not just the person playing the piano. So again, really interesting. It kind of does add an entirely new light to see this movie. Now after that conversation, it's the most I've enjoyed watching it. And that's when we start to see the monsters. So JB, what was your opinion?
God, is that only where we are?
Yep.
See, this is the thing though. We've had episodes that have lasted this long. But I think this is our best episode, you know, and I think it would be impossible for us...
You spent 20 minutes bullying Rihanna!
JB?
No, I think it would be impossible for us to do this movie and not have it be a good episode, because we're just the experts on it. But why are you laughing?
Nothing, I'm not laughing.
But we just are, like... I would challenge anyone in the community to have a trivia session with me about this film. I'll beat them. And I'll do it on a live stream as well. So, like, I'm not, like, spreading lies. I am just the expert on this film. But I don't know. I could talk about this for 8 hours. Maybe there'll be tangents, but you know. So the monsters. I really want to say something about this, but I can't because it happened in an interview that we haven't released yet. So maybe afterwards we'll revisit this movie with, like, you know, like we've got the visual for the 2002 interviews. So it's like the redone cast but in artwork. We should redo this movie, but as part of like a retrospective of sorts, like after we've done all the interviews and stuff.
That Smash can't escape.
Yeah, you can't escape now, boy.
JayBee's got you.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, maybe once all that's done, we should cover it more briefly in hindsight. But I think that these monsters are incredible because I think they're a perfect blend between genuinely scary but also so cartoony to the point where, for all they're terrifying, when Velma like pulls on their horns, you kind of get like kind of slapstick humor. Where I think they found a great blend between the scary and the goofy, the scary and the silly.
Rihanna, what did you think to these monsters or demons that they are not allowed to be called?
Creatures.
They scare me still. They actually... Just something about them makes me feel really uncomfortable, but in a good way, because, you know, they're monsters. You're not supposed to like them, but also they're kind of cute in a weird, twisted way.
I kind of see that too.
I cannot say I see that, but
okay,
I respect it.
You know,
like, you know when there's one that kind of gets bullied, like you see them get hit a lot, and stuff like,
okay.
oh no, that one's bullying that one.
It's like they didn't ask to be like that.
That's
and
true.
The
They're
thing
just
is
surviving.
that they, you know, like Chinese crested, people think that they're weird dogs that are ugly and everything. I think they're adorable. They don't have fur. That's not their fault. They're amazing and have a great personality. And I think they're adorable, and they remind me of a Chinese crested, but they do scare me a lot. And you know, I wouldn't want one like coming out of me, because if I woke up and like I had my soul back, are we allowed to say soul? And then like
Are you kidding me?
I like
All the stuff we've said in this review. Can we say soul?
Look, me and Rihanna tend to keep it relatively well PG.
Yeah, but this is a special episode. This episode is an episode like no other, because there is an edgy version of this movie. We need to cover all bases. Like, do you think the Monsters Unleashed review is going to be like this? No.
Yeah, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
It honestly is. Honestly is.
And I guess speaking of the other version, one of the next scenes coming up is the Coast Guard one, and that was the most out of place scene in this movie that I never understood. Until like a few weeks ago.
We just like until today.
Until a few weeks ago.
And I'm not
when the amazing Kent Bader
he revealed it. We pioneered that answer.
Not only that, but they were so amazing that they like sent that as an extra voice clip because we realised we hadn't spoken about it, right?
Kent Bader is an amazing person, and I kind of want to touch upon the behind the scenes of this a bit more. And again, this isn't the appropriate time, because I do think we need to do our celebration in retrospective. But when I reached out to Ken Bader, I honestly didn't expect the interview to do well at all, because at the time of writing the questions and sitting down to record, I didn't know that he had seen the Gosnell cut. Like, obviously you kind of think in hindsight, well, it's obvious he's the editor, but I didn't know if the person that had seen the Gosnell cut was the script revision person or the producers, the director. Like,
I thought there was going to be some kind of NDA surrounding it.
Or something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't expect them to come onto the Zoom call and be like, okay, so this was cut, this was cut, this was cut, this was cut, and this was cut.
But this is why people shouldn't be up themselves or to try and be too big for like their boots and stuff, because when you think about movies, I would say, unfortunately, nobody really thinks about the editor. Maybe people think about a composer or a director or an actor, but I don't remember the last time I heard someone saying, Oscar-nominated editor. But, like, by reaching out to these people, we've pioneered some great things, and so it's like you never know what you're gonna get. Everyone has their story. And I'm really grateful to Kent Bader because they did an amazing interview.
They are such an incredible person, and it was an incredible interview, as JayBee said. Okay, so we're moving on to the next morning after the Coast Guard, and so we're left with Shaggy, Daphne,
Also,
Mary
if you
Jane,
want the
and
solution
Scooby.
to the Coast Guard, I'll leave the screen rant article down below along with the Kent Bader interview, so you know where to find it.
So, can I just add, even though Screen Rant didn't include me, I was there in the interview. You can see it with your own eyes.
Oh, well,
Rihanna
actually,
was.
I recently got back in touch with Screen Rant about that, and I'm not going to reveal. I can reveal it like off recording, but like they've not replied to me yet. But it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff.
Okay, so they basically are trying to work out what happened to Fred and Velma. So Shaggy and Scooby run into a completely like possessed Fred, and I think that again just shows Freddie Prinze was the right person for the role, because I think this is hilarious. Did you enjoy this bit, Rihanna?
Yeah.
JayBee, do you want to do your impression for us a bit
I
louder?
was like, hey, the bitch was like, what? And I was like, Lena, on. It was just, oh my god, they're never gonna make a movie like this again. Like, they're never gonna do it, and it makes me sad. But then I kind of think, like, you only live so long as a human being, and we could have been born in the time of the Tudors or Henry VIII, or we could have been born in the far future. But I just feel so lucky that we were born at the perfect time that this was part of our childhoods, because literally no other generation can say that now. Like, obviously they can be reintroduced to it, but I don't know. Like, I'm very lucky to be alive. I think we all are, really. Like, I think life is precious. Life is amazing.
I guess one thing that is coming up with this movie at this stage, though, is something that JayBee perhaps even thought could have been a bit too far, and that is, once Fred is possessed, they start chasing after Shaggy and Scooby, and they start, like, tearing this hut apart to get to them. And I think that's one thing that JayBee even finds with horror, is when it's, like, people hurting people, it suddenly becomes a bit more real and a bit more sinister. And not only that, but when they're trying to escape is when they run into Mary Jane, and they pull that like kind of weird scary face
Oh
thing.
god, no. I had nightmares about that.
Yeah, me as well. So I guess that's the only thing that you really thought was too far, right?
No. I thought what Fred did to Daphne when possessed is too far. Like, as a kid, I thought it was funny. I almost thought it was a bit sexy as a kid. But no, but I've matured throughout the years, and we don't live in a world where that. Like, you know, if people did complain about that, I understand, but we don't live in a world where that is funny to joke about anymore, because it is a question about consent and boundaries, and I think that the Fred in the movie oversteps the boundary in that regard. And I just think that if anything should have been cut out, it probably should have been that. But, yeah.
I imagine in today's society it probably would have been something that was
But
more
it's
likely to be cut
ridiculous
out.
that a kind of non-consensual interaction was in the movie, and yet they had to spend actual budget to CGI cleavage out. Like,
The word demon.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like,
to me.
demon, fine. Unlawful touching. No, demon, not okay. Unlawful touching, it's fine.
Yeah, I didn't like. I liked it when I was a kid because I didn't know any better. But as an adult, I think it's a bad message to send to kids, a bad message to send to adults, teenagers, just all around and now.
But going
It's a
back to
Scooby
kind of
don't.
what we were mentioning, the Mary Jane face was terrifying. I agree with you, JayBee. I had nightmares about that a lot as a child. Like, that was creepy.
It's just, and there wasn't a need for it because they're wearing them as a suit, right? But it's a soul thing, whereas that makes it seem like they almost shrink themselves down like a Slovene and like wear them as a skin suit, and I really hated it. I really, really hated it.
Rihanna, what did you feel about that scene?
Okay. Oh, sorry. I don't like it. It scares me. It makes me feel really uncomfortable because seeing her face manipulate like that. Like, I sent in the group chat a while ago a video I found on my Instagram Explore page of like that woman taking off her makeup, but it was like a mask.
Oh gosh, no.
It's terrifying. And Oh gosh, the fact that it's oh no, can we skip past this part?
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a good part
I
at all.
agree. I
And
agree with
ultimately,
Doodlebugsy.
it's what leads to Scooby and Shaggy having their fight where Scooby falls down the hole. And it's like, oh no, they're fighting over a girl. That's kind of,
This
you know, when they can
this
stick
is-
together through anything, surely one person's not enough to come between that.
this is the part Tati usually really starts snuggling into me, and she's actually just joined us right now. She's laying
Aw.
right on top of me,
Oh,
and I think
it's
it's she
like
knows.
new.
Like, I don't think she'll say anything, but she's like looking at the screen, and I've sent you guys pictures to look at afterwards. So.
Oh, I do love Tati.
I love
So
Tati as
cute.
well.
Okay, so like we say, this is where Scooby's fallen down the hole. Shaggy dives in to go after them. And before they don't find Scooby, they find that kind of pool of souls. And
Oh,
so,
also deleted scene. This is where Daphne's spirit thingy, as they call it, would have been removed, and Shaggy's horrified reaction to the room
is
was
actually
actually
for that.
his reaction to that scene. But yeah.
But ultimately, they managed to find the souls for Fred, Velma, and Daphne and release them out into the world. They do give up on finding Scooby, though, and just head back out.
That's actually a good point. What the heck happened?
Yeah, like, I don't think I'd have given up on finding Scooby that quickly, but ultimately, it cuts to another scene. So Velma gets their soul back, and then Fred's soul goes into Daphne, Daphne's soul goes into Fred. And that's when we lead to that scene that JayBee was talking about, where they're kind of, it's kind of a bit weird, where, like, Fred's kind of, like, touching his hips. Shaggy, when he gets possessed into Velma's body, like, bends over to try and look at the skirt. It does get very strange.
Well, that's what I'll say, and I think that I'm the right person to say this, okay? Because it's my shtick, right? That I like Daphne. I'm obsessed with Daphne, right? And I do admire Daphne. I would get any merch that's related to Daphne, and Sarah Michelle Gellar as well. You know, and I said this when we were doing our watch through. The fact it disgusts me the fact that Daphne was in the at the dock with so many suitcases, and because I would have gone over there and I would have carried her bags through. You know what I mean? Like, but at no point, and you can admire like celebrity women. You can admire women that you see on the media. You know, even if you get a bit obsessed, even if you know what I mean. Like, you have fun to them in private. But at no point in your life is it ever okay to touch a woman or a man without consent. You should always ask for it, and if they say no, you know what I mean? No means no. And that's what I'll say. It's an obvious message, but I feel like this is what I'm saying to you people. Just don't do it. And that's kind of it.
That's a good message there from JayBee. And then we move on to the stage which I think Rihanna...
Consent is sexy.
We then move on to the stage that I think Rihanna worded absolutely beautifully, which is that the gang almost can't tolerate that Shaggy doesn't have Scooby, and that's what really truly brings them back together, is getting Scooby back. So that's when they start to set up the kind of... Oh, I don't really want to call it a trap, but the kind of end sequence.
The end game.
So, don't start this avenue again, JayBee, please.
Don't.
Oh no.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Are you ready to continue, JayBee?
I am. I'm
Good.
ready to Kent Bader.
So, like I say, there's kind of a fun sequence again, some kind of fun music in the background where they're setting up this sequence.
Oh, this isn't on the album though, which makes me sad. It's like one of the only songs that plays.
While we're speaking about music, before I do go any further, I want to ask Rihanna a question. Have you watched the music video that's a bonus feature on the disc?
Yeah, I
It's,
think I have.
I watched it. It's the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. It's like a music video and Matthew Lillard just keeps popping up everywhere dressed as Shaggy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
I don't know what this is. It's so strange. But I love it at the same time. Like, I first watched it about 2 months ago, and then today when we were doing our watch, I was like, JayBee, I know we're running late, but can I just watch that bit again? Because it is so funny.
And you slept through it.
Shut up, JayBee. You've done enough wrong this episode, okay? Don't think.
What have I done wrong this episode?
You bullied me about Endgame for starters. just like, come on, JayBee, be nicer to Millie, because she's had a busy week. She's been working really hard. Like, shout out to Millie and her dedication. She works hard and
See, listen to Rihanna. Take notes and take
Yeah,
notes.
this is
JayBee.
biased. This is biased. This is why I missed.
No, it's an
this is
accurate
why I missed Smash,
representation.
because this is
okay.
too far.
JayBee.
This isn't right.
So shout out to Millie for working really hard, and shout out to JayBee for also working really hard and getting interviews and stuff.
And shout out to Rihanna for sticking around when JayBee bullies her about it.
And shout out to Smash for definitely appearing in the next 2002 discussion.
Like, honestly though, some of the JayBee has some really adult moments where he gives great advice, like yesterday when I had a breakdown. Then there's moments like today, which everyone sees most often, where he has more, I'd say, like, childlike opinions.
Well, it's my shtick, and I do agree with you. But this is when I'm JayBee, right? When I'm this person, I want people to either dislike what I'm saying and disagree with me to the point where they want to debate with me, or agree with me, or think I'm entertaining, you know? And that's the thing, like, I have got a whole entire notebook sat next to me of agents' informations and all that stuff. I've been trying to get all these interviews lined up, but, like, the me that does that isn't the me that's here today. Like, I'm always genuine in what I'm saying.
You wear different hats.
Yeah, I'm a man of many hats. I am a man of many hats. And, you know, I think I am... It's just my shtick, but I mean everything I say.
Okay,
I'm passionate about everyone.
So I think you're about to be the man that wraps up this movie right now, because I think we're heading towards the last scene in that they kind of, as you would expect for Mystery, because this tends to happen a lot, the plan doesn't quite go the way it's meant to. So we're left in a position where Shaggy has to take over as one of the people carrying Scooby's chair. And Velma and Fred get caught because they were trying to fit in as the dancers, and that didn't really work out. But
drive the bus.
Scooby and Shaggy get this really nice moment.
Oh, this moment.
It's just really cute.
Everything about the moment is perfect, from Matthew Lillard's acting to David Newman's score. It just hits you in the feels. It really does.
Because, like, the Scrappy there, like, trying to take over the world.
What?
And it's like, no, just stop. And also, JayBee, I'm sure will appreciate this scene, Daphne's fight scene with Darkos.
God, it is so good. And you can see behind the scenes about how they choreographed some of this. And I will say, and again, I don't want to mention it again, right? Because I've already mentioned it. But this, to me, beats any scene in Endgame and stuff, like, or any scene in recent Marvel besides maybe the latest Spider-Man. This scene is so good. The way that everything kicks into action, where Daphne starts fighting, the iconic music, but a different rendition of it, like, starts playing. And I think it is the catharsis you need from everyone laughing at Daphne at the start for saying, I'm a black belt now. And now you see that it's this... I don't want to say little, but there's a kind of meek looking woman, I want to say. Like, you wouldn't expect her to be overly strong versus this big muscular man who you'd think, you know, I mean, he could punch a brick and it would snap. And she manages to just run rings around him. It's just so incredible. And again, this is where I'm going to shout out. So the person that plays Zarkos, I forget the name actually, that's kind of embarrassing on my part, but I have reached out to them. They haven't replied yet, but I'm hoping they do, because I think that he deserves a lot of recognition, because there's so many, like, big, tough, phony actors that would in no way, that I think, I don't want to be libelous, but there's some actors that I've heard have, like, a clause like, this person cannot be seen to be weak in this movie, or this person cannot be seen to be...
Yeah, if it's the part where they're going to lose a fight against somebody of Daphne's stature, then they're not going to accept it.
Yeah. But the fact that this person, who is a fighter in real life, they're, I think, UFC, the fact that to be part of the movie and to participate, they played the scene where they actually did get beaten, I think it takes a really big person to do that, and so I'm really grateful that they stepped into that role.
Me as well. And ultimately, I think it's a combination, majority-wise, of Shaggy and Daphne here. I think Shaggy is quite integral in the souls escaping, and Daphne then sheds the light, so the demons kind of disintegrate almost.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the situation almost resolves itself. I think it's Velma and Fred remove the Daemonitis from Scrappy's chest, and then they shrink back down to size. And we cut to the scene.
There's kind of a funny, subtle moment.
Okay.
So, you know when Fred's at the start in the Spooky Island playing, like, if you want to stop a dog from doing any action, just flick its nose, and it makes Scooby punch him in the face? Scooby later on tries to flick Scrappy's nose, and it's just kind of fun that it's never drawn attention to, but just the fact that it's something that he tried to pick up from at the start of the movie, I thought was always funny.
Yeah, no, it is cute. And it's cuts outside the main Spooky Island hotel, where they're almost wrapping up the press conference. We get a really nice moment where Daphne and Fred just look at each other, and it is just so cute. And we see Scrappy and the rest of the team kind of like that had been working as part of this evil plan, been taken away in this helicopter. And so ultimately, the happy ending where Mystery Inc. agree that they're going to continue working together again. So very positive ending leading on to a sequel.
It makes me sad,
which we'll speak about next week.
Because I want to think that the sequel isn't the sequel they wanted to make, obviously, but maybe something like I forget what they call it, like the Mudball Ghoul terrorizing London is maybe a sequel that they did want to explore. And so it's like, we could have had the sequel in London, in the UK. We could have like gone or something.
Gellar could have been here.
Well, she came, I think, to the UK premiere because I saw a clip of her with Anthony Stewart Head, who plays Giles in Buffy, who is the dad of Carly from The Inbetweeners.
Mm-hmm.
So she, along with Seth Green, came to the UK. So she did come, but you know. So I guess that's pretty much a wrap on our
JayBee.
Scooby Doo 2002 review. Again, before we do our verdicts, happy 20th anniversary to this movie. And I hope that if you enjoyed this, again, this is a very different review than what we usually do. It's never normally like this. I kind of wish it was a bit more because I'd feel more free. But it doesn't need to be, you know, for any other film, I don't think. So, happy anniversary, 20th... Sugar. Happy 20th anniversary to this movie. You're a legend.
Okay, so verdicts, JayBee, as if you haven't already insinuated, would you say smash or pass?
I am going to smash this movie, and I think I've kind of explained for we've been recording for 2 hours 14 minutes, but again, like we say, 20 minutes of that was just terrorizing Rihanna. So I think for 2 hours 20 minutes I've said why I would smash this movie. I think it's perfect. I think there's not one performance that stands out to me as bad. There's not one musical choice that I don't like. There's not one bit of dialogue that I think is awful, except for the Fred part, and even then, like, I guess, you know, it was a different time in comedy and media, perhaps. Like, it's not an actual depiction of genuine, you know, violation. It's scripted, you know what I mean? So we don't know, but I just love this movie so much, and I think I've got the whole history of this channel to further explain why I'd smash. So I'll just keep it relatively short but sweet, and that's my verdict. So, Millie, would you smash or pass Scooby Doo the Movie 2002?
I would have to smash this movie. I can't personally understand why there's anybody that would see that this tarnished Scooby history, that it was, you know, degrading to the Scooby name or anything like that. Obviously, there was edits that were made. Perhaps if they hadn't, then it was a different story. But ultimately, this was just a family movie. It was fun. It was wholesome, really. There was nothing really wrong with it. It was something that I really enjoyed growing up, something that my parents would have watched alongside me, and they'd have clearly been comfortable with me watching it. So yeah, I certainly don't understand any of the hate it gets.
And the word wholesome is thrown about so stupidly in the Scooby community anyway.
So yeah, I'd say nothing wrong with the movie at all. I personally really enjoyed it growing up. I was so happy there was a live action Scooby movie. I've said it a lot, but my parents didn't really like animated movies. I wasn't allowed to watch them if they were around or focusing on the TV. So this was a way I could watch Scooby without my parents being like, turn it off, it's animated. So,
I have called Childline.
so yeah, I was just so happy that this movie exists. It is amazing. The acting, I guess I didn't appreciate it enough at the time, but looking back and reflecting, it is phenomenal. Matthew Lillard is incredible, and it's amazing that both them and Linda Cardellini went on to reappear in Scooby. Linda Cardellini certainly didn't reappear enough. I really do wish we could have them as our permanent Velma. So I honestly don't think I have a single negative really to say about this movie. Nothing's coming up. So like I say, it would have to be a definite smash. I genuinely don't have a flaw with this movie. So finally, Rihanna, would you say smash or pass for Scooby Doo the movie?
I would smash it, obviously. First of all, great things came out in 2002. I mean, I was born, so I can happily say I was born alongside this movie.
Aww.
If only it was like the same day it came out, that would have been awesome. But do you want to say something, Tattoo? That was Tattoo's verdict, and she smashed it as well.
Yay! Tattoo.
This movie means so much to me, from spending time with my old boy Diesel to the memories I now have with Tatty, Tilda, and Poppy. They mean the world to me, and the fact that I can still so easily just put on a DVD, go and put on the VHS if I really want to go old school, and I can just like watch it and enjoy it and be in the moment. And that's my reasoning. It's so, it is wholesome. This movie makes me feel happy. It's homely. You can watch it anywhere, anytime. If you feel sad, it will make you laugh. If you feel happy, it will make you cry, but then laugh again. And it's a violent circle of emotions, but it's worth it. And I feel like rewatching this movie recently this week and seeing where I am now with you guys, I found my mystery incorporated, and I'm happy.
Oh, that's amazing. And oh my gosh, that sounded like an interview there. That's amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
But that is awesome, because we are kind of like Mystery Inc. And I think we kind of fit some of the roles as well. And I think we're all a team, and I think, I think you guys are just amazing. And it's a pleasure to speak with all of you. And I think we've got very lucky, right? Because there are some people in the community that I wouldn't like to be trapped with, but it's like, I think we've just got so lucky with who we've chosen to speak with, and it's just, I don't think we could have been in a better situation, to be honest. So I'm very happy.
Okay, so JayBee, finally wrapping up the video. Any community news?
So yesterday, as of posting this, we did our interview with Rick Kopp. So Rick Kopp was the writer for Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, along with Mecha McMenace. They also are the originator or the creator of the Hex Girls, who of course are iconic. We learn so much about the inspirations for the Hex Girls and the Witch's Ghost movie, and a lot about Rick Kopp's career as well. So if you want to learn about that, please do check that out. On Wednesday, we've got another interview that we're going to be announcing, so please keep an eye on the, you can subscribe to this channel and see the community tab where I'll be announcing it. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram where that announcement will be made too. We've kind of made a bit of a stinky. I think more, well, not Rihanna. Rihanna didn't make a stinky. It was completely mine and Millie's kind of thing. But we were meant to announce a giveaway winner at some point this recording. We're going to need to do that, I think, either elsewhere or in a separate scenario.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because I think I'm disappointed. I think I did a lot that didn't do this giveaway any favours. But it didn't go as well as I thought it would. I didn't think it would blow up, but it was more hassle and confusing than I would have wanted. And I can admit fault in I know that I marketed that badly. And there's things that I've learned from messing up with this giveaway that I would do differently next time. So I will accept blame on my part. So we're going to announce a winner. We've got a lot of giveaways planned, loads of cool stuff, and I'm going to hopefully take what I didn't do right this time and market the next ones a lot better. So hopefully that is good. Apart from the rest of the community, they just need to do things. And I'm sorry to sound like a prick, but like I'm just like there's so much that I want to announce, but some days I'm like, isn't it someone else's turn? Like, can someone announce a really cool interview? Can people like remind me that they're still alive? Like, because we produce all this stuff together, and I love doing them, but I'm also a Scooby fan myself. I want to watch other people's interviews, I want to watch and listen to other people's content, but no one's doing anything. So, like, if you want to hire me to work on your content and reach out to people, just hit me up. I don't want to be involved in them because I want to watch, but just do something, because there's never any community news because no one's doing stuff. So just move. Like, are you alive?
JayBee, are you okay?
Well, it's someone else's turn to announce things at this point.
With that being said, I have nothing to announce. Rihanna, do you have anything
We have
to
15
announce?
interviews in the works for the rest of this month alone. Somebody else do something.
JayBee, you're taking the opportunities away. You've reached out to everyone.
Well, I'm not. Like, I don't feel ownership over people. Like, if, like, say we pioneered Kent Bader, right? If another platform or podcast announced an interview with Kent Bader, well, fantastic. That's more Kent Bader. That's more content that I can watch as a viewer, as a fan.
Okay, JayBee, we appreciate you and your opinions.
So
Thank you
please,
for
just
sharing.
if you want to hire me, if you ask nicely, I will do it. I will work on your stuff for you. But somebody, please do something.
Okay, JayBee, we appreciate you sharing.
Thank you.
Rihanna, I don't have any community news, so do you?
The only thing which isn't really a big thing, last week was the Hall of Fame ceremony in WWE, and The Undertaker was inducted, and in his video package, Scooby Doo and Shaggy were in it. So that's the only news I have, that if you want to go watch that, do it, because it was an amazing moment that I screamed, and yeah, that's it.
That's true, they did get a good feature. You sent it over to me, so it was cool to see that, so thank you for sending it. And it's definitely worth checking out. So I think that does it for this video. Obviously next week we are going to be reviewing the second live action Scooby Doo movie, Monsters Unleashed.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have Smash back for that, because I know that that's a personal favourite of theirs. But yeah, I guess this has been a bit of a special, different episode of the Smash or Pass podcast. You can find any of Rihanna's links in the description down below, along with a few of our things like our link tree, which has been updated to include the Screen Rant articles, the Kent Bader interview. So yeah, and also look out for the giveaway winner, because again, I'm going to learn from the mistakes I made from that. But congratulations to everyone, and thank you everyone that did participate. So yeah, if you do want to see this and so much more, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Come on, Millie, you say JayBee and Millie. When you... Oh my lord.
We've not rubbed a video of like that for ages, have we?
Have we not? No, we haven't actually.
You know what?
Right, I'm just gonna stop the recording because I need a pee.
No. So thank you everyone for watching. JayBee just messed up the outro, but we're gonna take two. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone to watching, and subscribe to the channel for their interviews. They continue with the 2002.
Jesus, please. I need to go.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Bye.